What's happening, everyone? And welcome to El Chile Boxing Talk. Man, well, we had some good holidays, and you know what? The crew, Nopal, Georgie with Off the Ropes Boxing and MMA. He's not here, but he might show up a little bit later. But man, we were just enjoying the holidays, and we thought it's time to get back to it. Time to get back to it. And, Tank slapped up his girl, allegedly. So, that was enough of a reason for us to come on and talk about it. Just like everybody else, we're going to give you the chisme, right? Just like how El Chile can do it. Nopal, what's happening, brother?
Hey, how you doing, Chicano? Just right here, chilling, man. Glad to
Man,
get back on a little bit of these controversial topics. Oh shit!
what do you
Oh
think?
man, that's a nice one. I like that.
Yeah,
You know,
I think I should give myself like a 9 out of 10 for creativity. I think this is a good one. Um, taste, you could classify this as a bit distasteful. You know what I mean?
would you call it tacky, Chicano?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, when I was looking at this, there's a couple things. One, I looked up the lyrics, right, and I don't know if I'm dealing with like a Mandela effect, right? But I always thought it was like you've been struck by a smooth criminal, but it's two hit bys. Did you have any like recollection on the lyrics?
Ah, no, that's a Michael Jackson song, huh? Or something
Yeah,
like that.
dude. You don't,
Oh,
man. You don't remember that music video? Come on now, brother.
I kind of do, but come on, man. You know why Floyd wanted to do that because everybody was criticizing the UGG boots that he wears. So,
Mm.
of course, he had to justify it with getting Tank to do some gay ass shit like this, bro. Come on.
Well, yeah, yeah. Here's the other thing, dude. I was looking at the lyrics, bro, and I thought, okay, well, this is kind of maybe this would be like, some people would consider this to be in poor taste. Us making like a joke about Tank, and a smooth criminal. You've been hit by a smooth criminal, but the song is actually about domestic abuse. I was reading the lyrics for the first time, and it's like, are you okay? We told us that you're okay. Then he struck you, a crescendo, Annie. And then you ran to the bathroom. You were struck down. It was your doom, Annie. Annie. So I mean, it's about domestic abuse, I guess. So,
Damn, you think that Michael Jackson was he might have wrote that in reference to somebody that beat their wife or something, huh? Is that
I
what you're saying?
mean, not Mike. Well, I
Damn.
mean, yeah, maybe in reference because Michael Jackson, he wouldn't hurt a fly.
He
Uh,
was sneak dissing, huh? We got Michael Jackson, the biggest sneak disser in history, I guess. Huh?
I want to give a shout out to JC who's in the house. What's up, homie? It's been a long time. Nice to see you back, dude. We're finally back after a few weeks of chilling, bro. But we've seen JC around, man. Lots of good conversations are going on. But yeah, dude. So we all know what happened. Tank allegedly smacked his baby mama. Now, according to court docs, police say Davis did actually and intentionally touch and strike the woman, quote unquote, against her will, and did intentionally cause bodily harm to her. Right? They also said Gervonta struck the accuser on the right side of her head with a closed hand type of slap, causing the woman to suffer a facial injury and an abrasion on the inside of her upper lip. Okay, so that's what came out. Got a little mugshot for Tank Davis, right? Um, no smiles. He doesn't look very happy. Okay, not very happy at all. I guess I wouldn't be if I got sent to jail on some bogus charges. Well, allegedly they're bogus. Okay, this is what Tank had to say about it. No ball. He said, "I never put my hands on my child's mother, nor my fucking daughter. Are you fucking crazy? I'm not a monster. I've been quiet for too long. That's the only reason I'm doing this now, which is posting just to clear my name." All right, so lots of updates. We haven't touched on any of this, right? But he writes this whole thing basically saying that like, hey, he's got no one representing him. Well, I can tell you this for sure, no Paul. Like, I don't think he wrote this himself. I've seen his typing on Twitter. No offense to him, but he could not produce something like this. So somebody is speaking for him. You know what I'm saying?
Also, when he talks, this is the funny thing that I don't get about some people. You mean to tell me that your slang game is that thick that even when you type some shit, you gotta say all that slang that most people don't even understand, bro? I gotta fucking ask my boys to translate that type of shit for me. So this is why we you wouldn't believe that he wrote all this right here. Probably his lawyer did it because he don't talk that way, and
Right.
he doesn't express himself even when he's typing something this way, you know.
Exactly, man. It's like all of a sudden Tank's all alone by himself. And here's the thing, and we're gonna get into whether he did hit her or what we think about it because the story's changed. So he got arrested and he was released on bail. And since then, Tank has shown some photos of himself. This is him supposedly being spit on. All right. There's also a photo of him or a video of him having his shirt torn. And he's showing that she's writing, it looks like hater on the mirror, right? And Tank's holding these toothbrushes full of feces, right? That supposedly, like, she took the toothbrushes and scraped them full of feces. Maybe she's a crazy woman. But this is what she had to say, right? Her name's Vanessa Poso, and she says, "These past days have been hurtful and extremely exhausting for all parties involved. I pride myself on being extremely private. This situation was the last thing I wanted to be made public. The state of our relationship has been fragile, a fragile space, and Giovanni and I are both at fault for the argument. While the emotions were running high, I made an unnecessary call to law enforcement in an intense moment while I was frantic. Giovanni did not harm me or our daughter. Today, we sought the help necessary to move forward with our lives. I am confident that we will succeed with our co-parenting dynamic with the counseling provided to us." Okay, Nopal, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh man, sounds rehearsed, bro. I hate to say that, and I'm not putting full blame on Tank because if that stuff that he's showing, any type of lady spitting in your face, um, a woman gets your toothbrush and smears some feces on it, writes feces on the mirror, any type of shit that has to do with feces, man. Like, I would challenge anybody, any man, any self-righteous man to show me the appropriate way to react to some shit like that. Now, I'm not saying, like that he's an angel either, because we've seen how he acts in public sometimes. He's willing to go up to a girl and fucking choke her out in front of cameras or grab her by the neck and shit like that, with no regard to who's going to see, what kind of example he sets on the youth, shit like that. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know what that woman said for him to treat her like that or whatever, but just understand that there's people that could have easily jumped in and fucking knocked his ass out for doing some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? But so what I'm saying is, you could look at this multiple ways, but he does have a track record of fucking bitches up, basically, and it's easy to fucking see why people don't believe that statement or any of that shit is true. You know what I mean? But I'm also saying that it's fucked up that if that feces thing is true. You know what I mean? And we also know that she's probably Puerto Rican, and we do know that Puerto Rican women can be a handful, bro. They are extremely beautiful, but goddamn, they're crazy as fuck. You know what I mean? But
Hey,
so I would suggest, Javante, go to Africa and get you a real woman, bro. You know what I'm saying? Get you 6 or 7 wives, bro, and keep it moving. Women that'll be submissive to you and that would appreciate what you do for them, But at the same time, don't slap your girls, man.
all right. Well, Nopal dropping some serious knowledge, right, and some life lessons on people. So Vanessa, the idea Nopal is saying that she's hot, but she's crazy, and that's not a good combination. I do have the picture of the feces, but I haven't shown it quite yet. I don't know if I will, but let's take a look at Vanessa, before we stain our minds with that type of image. Let's look at the good imagery real quick. Si, senor. We're talking about Vanessa Poso. You could find her on IG, and damn, man, she is a good-looking woman, no doubt about it.
Hey, and this is where I got to give Ryan Garcia the upper hand, because even though he might suffer from a little bit of mental health or whatever, and he the dude is smart enough to not waste his time with just one woman. You know what I mean?
Well, I think I don't know how many baby mamas Tank has. Like, it sounds to me like they're in a situation where it's co-parenting, so they're obviously not together. Like, I want to know what he was doing over there in the first place. I mean, besides the obvious, right? She's one good-looking woman, and maybe she does stay loyal to him most of the time, or I don't know. It's obvious that he's the breadwinner. Okay, I mean, she's a good-looking woman, but now she's quite comfortable, maybe more comfortable than she'll ever be. Tank Davis is worth millions and millions of dollars. Like, will she be able to find some other guy that can provide like that? I mean, not that I'm saying it's a factor, but she could be crazy, bro. Like I heard that phone call, right? You can hear in the very beginning she's kind of like not even screaming, and then she's like, "Hello, oh my god," like he's trying to kill me, help me. Okay, well, okay, I thought that phone call was a little bogus to begin with. Okay, you're in the car screaming like he's gonna kill me. Like, well, if you're in a car and he's gonna kill you, like those windows ain't gonna stop anybody who wants to get to you, right? I mean, so I thought that was a little bit of bullshit to begin with, right? That's what I thought.
Yeah, I haven't heard the phone call, but by the way you describe it, yeah, it sounds kind of rehearsed.
Yeah, she was in
Like,
the car,
you
like
know,
he wants to kill me, and it's like, Tank is, maybe he is dealing with crazy. I mean, she is a good looking woman, no doubt about it. I was impressed with Ryan Garcia's baby mamas, but I mean, Tank is at least keeping up with that as far as beauty goes. Ryan Garcia likes the Mexicanas. Like I can't tell, like this girl, you think she's Boricua?
she's probably right there. She looks a little Dominican. I don't know. I guess the race don't even matter, bro. I mean, she is fine, but here's the thing, too, man. I mean, from this day forward, every time they show a picture of her, they should show a split screen of on one side her good picture, and then the other side the picture of the feces. You know what I'm saying? Just to give people an accurate,
Ah,
just a interpretation of what she likes to do to men. You know what I mean? The type of
right.
shit she's gonna put you through.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Okay, like one, I mean, is that really feces? I don't know. It kind of looks like mud to me, and it's like if that is, uh, it's pretty nasty that she like. What's her intention?
That's
Like,
That's true, Chicano. I didn't think about that. You know what I'm saying? If it had feces on there, why wouldn't you just tell your housekeeper, hey, can you clean that up? You wouldn't fucking just touch it with your hands like that, because I'm sure there's some shit pretty close to his finger right there.
whoa.
And
I mean,
I
okay. See, now we're breaking it
you
down. You're
see
right.
that? Look
Yes,
at that. Do you really think that he's gonna grab that just like that? You know what I'm
dude.
saying?
Yeah, he's grabbing all of them, kind of like this. He's got like three of them. He's got his fingers right there. You're right, dude. Like, it's like okay, let me hold this. I'd be fucking creeped out. I wouldn't want no female shit anywhere near me. You know what I'm saying?
Just imagine this: when you fucking pick up dog shit outside your house, you use a long ass shovel. And when you're scooping that shit wherever you need to scoop it, when you get a fucking I don't know, sometimes there things in the atmosphere cause it to give you a small whiff of it, bro. I feel like throwing the fuck up when that happens. But I would never have some shit that close to me like that.
I mean, me either, man. Like, there's no excuse for this, or maybe Tank. He grew up with the hard life, so maybe this isn't so bad. A little bit of fecal matter splattered here and there, don't phase him. But there
The
is
hard
this
life.
idea. There is this idea that maybe it was a promotional stunt. Okay, now it's crossed my mind. Like, I think there's enough there to possibly say yes, it could be a promotional stunt. Like, maybe she just did go crazy, right? But this idea that like Tank hit her, like, okay, the assault. Okay, like I understand that where there's smoke, there's fire, and we already have a public video of Tank putting hands on a woman. Okay, so we've seen that, but I mean, Tank could change his ways. Also, he could be a lot smarter. Also, it's not like she couldn't inflict that type of damage on herself if she's psycho, right? All it was like a bruise up inner lip or something like that. Like, I'm not trying to downplay what happened. I mean, assault is very serious. But I don't know. I don't know. Like, Tank could also spit on himself. That fecal matter could be fake. Like, I just think it's possible that this could be a promotional stunt. Uh, because all of a sudden he's on headline news everywhere of this fight that's supposed to happen next week that does go through, and then all of a sudden she rescinds her accusations. So what do you think, Nopal? Any chances it was a stunt?
You know what? There's always a chance, bro. Now that you mention it, if you go back just a little, you can remember that Ryan Garcia was supposed to have a tune-up fight, and the way he announced, "Fuck it, I don't need a fight." He just it seemed like if you really look at it a different way, maybe in a way he won that uh, Javon's right there, like saying, "Hey, he's the only he needs a fight for me. I don't need one for him." You know what I'm saying? So maybe they took it that way, and then they said, "Oh shit, now we got to come up with some shit that'll allow us to not have a tune-up fight." You know what I'm saying? Because yeah, we're looking like bitches compared to Ryan Garcia now, and we can't have that. I mean, but it sounds kind of crazy to even put it like that. Uh, it would be interesting to see if they just cancel this fight altogether with Javante and whoever his tune-up was, and just go straight into Ryan Garcia or not even have that either. You know what I'm saying? But it could be a promotional stunt. And it's fucked up time that we live in, that something that, you know, could have made you look really dumb back in the day, and all of a sudden we're, at this day and age, there's actually people that think Tank is a hero for this type of shit, probably. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy, man, and it's unfortunate. And you're right; it's a sad state of affairs where we don't know if this could be a stunt or not. Yeah, some things just don't add up for me. But like I said, I could also see her changing her tune. Like, okay, if you're dependent on a guy, like it's just weird. Then why would he go over there right now? He was like 10 days from the fight. Like, I understand that you're going over there chilling, but he should know for his own sake not to be over there, getting himself riled up over shit. Like, he should be like deep in camp, right? I mean, and we all like Coach Calvin over here, and it's like, well, then again, maybe he doesn't really have too much control over Tank. I'm sure he doesn't. Tank is the cash cow, right? But still, man, like they should be on the same page. Like it is fight week, but you're right, man. Like this Hector Garcia fight, like nobody's really that interested in it, and Tank's going around not fighting any real champions, taking this tune up to fight a weight drained Ryan Garcia next. Like, how do you make people excited about it? Well, maybe you can make him the villain. Like Tank, I don't think is ever going to be kind of like the baby face. Like I think he can just turn into this villain role. Maybe like I'm not sure who's managing him. All I'm saying is like everything that's come out with all this, it's all very bizarre. That's all I'm saying. And speaking of slapping up women, now we do have video of a slap of Dana White slapping his wife in Cancun. Now, Nopal, did you have a chance to see the video?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see the full thing. I just saw when she slapped him and then he slapped her back, and then they kind of wrestle, I think. Um, they appear to be intoxicated, at a party or something.
Right. So they're in Mexico, and she decides to slap him, and then he slaps her down pretty good, and then he actually kind of follows up a little bit, and then they kind of fade into the background, and that's what we see. Um, what are your thoughts, Nopal?
Um, uh, it just okay. First of all, you know what that just reminded me the other day of an episode from Sopranos where one of the uncles or some shit like that gets out of jail, and then he tells Christopher Moltisanti, he go, because his niece, he hears that he beat her up, I guess, and he says that he's gonna tear him a new one if he ever finds out that he uh, touches her like that without first giving her the last name. So essentially, what he meant is the day you marry her, then you can treat her however the fuck you want. Or I guess
Uh,
that's what kind of I don't think that he meant, oh, you could slap her up or whatever, but I'll stay out of your business if you marry her, give her the last name. So okay, first of all, it is his wife. That doesn't mean that he owns her, and with the same token, that does not mean that um she owns him either. So that doesn't make it okay for her to just slap him, and it doesn't make it okay for him to slap her. So in reality, I thought it was kind of like it's way different than the Tank situation, because with Tank, he already has a history of initiating violence, being the initiator. You know what I'm saying? So he already has a history of that. With Dana White, we never seen him initiate fucking somebody up, a woman or whatever. In this case, she slapped him. They were both fucking drunk, probably. He slapped her back. I don't know what happened afterwards. I'm not condoning it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna fucking say that. And keep in mind, I don't like Dana White because I think that he's kind of a scumbag. He's kind of like a slave owner, in my opinion. The way he treats the UFC fighters. So I don't like that part of Dana White, but at the same time, I can't hate on him enough to where I say that he's 100% at fault. I think this incident for me is like 50-50. They were both fucked up and they both fucked up. You know, I'm pretty sure that if she hadn't initiated the slap, he wouldn't have reacted that way. He would have just said, "Hey, it's time to go. Let's go." It seemed like he was trying to get her to leave. Like you're having too much to drink. He's trying to go there and say, "Hey, you're acting a fool. It's time to go." I've seen that happen before. Vice versa too. Sometimes the women, sometimes you're partying with your lady, you get out of hand, and she's like, it's time to go. You know what I'm saying? And it's your wife, so you gotta kind of listen and shit. And the same thing goes back way. We could all be caught in this situation, and I'm not gonna say that it's not okay to ever hit a woman because I've seen videos. I don't know if you ever seen that 8 ball jacket guy in the subway in New York. You know,
I don't
there
think
was
so.
some really aggressive women talking shit to him, making fun of his jacket and shit. And then one of them is bold enough to go up because I don't know what he tells her. Maybe he said, "Hey, just leave me alone" or some shit like that. But one of them is aggressive enough to go over there and try to slap him. So he has to fucking lay the smackdown on all three of these bitches. And in my opinion, he was just protecting himself. Nobody has a right to come up to spit on you. Nobody has a right to even touch you. So, I'm pretty sure if the dude would have just let that shit go, he would have looked like some kind of punk, whether it was a woman or not. I think that you have the right to defend yourself. So, I think women should have a certain respect towards men and vice versa. We know that they're a little bit not as strong as us. So, I'm pretty sure Dana probably went kind of soft. I'm pretty sure he didn't crank his hand all the way back and try to inflict some damage on his wife. I think it was just a reaction. And I'm not justifying it, man. Everybody's going to look at the situation differently. And uh but I do think that it's completely different situation than what is happening with Tank. He's got a track record of some shit that's going to take a while to erase. It's going to take him a long time to prove to the public that he just isn't about that life anymore. That type of shit. That
Mm.
he's not dysfunctional like that. As far as Dana White, that type of shit could happen to any of us. Are you here to tell me that if uh if Tank was in the club with his girl and she slaps him, do you think that there's one fucking percent probability that he's not going to slap her back? I don't think so. I think there's 100% probability that Tank would have did exactly the same thing. But in the other, if we switch the situation around, I don't think there's any way. I don't believe that Dana White would initiate trying to choke a woman. You know what I'm saying? So there's like different angles to look at the situation. I don't give either one a pass, but it's not up to me to decide anyways.
Nope, all. Those are some great views, man. I resonate with a lot of that. Remy here is in the house. He gives a shout out to me and you, and he says, I would never defend myself against a woman. But he also says, my wife has never raised a hand at me and vice versa. Well, that's the way it should be, right? And he goes, I mean, I hit it, but not like that. Okay, I mean, I get that too. You know what I mean? I get that too. Well, that is something that I think was interesting to me, right? So this is just a screenshot of some of the headlines. Like, I feel like Dana White, he's getting a lot of protection. I was surprised at how much protection and coverage he seems to be getting. Like, if you look at the headlines, they tend to mirror this whole like Dana White and wife slap each other, hitting each other, right? And then when he apologizes, when Dana White apologizes, then they kind of talk about Dana White apologizing for physical altercation with his wife. See, like physical altercation, that's not even like slapping, that's like back and forth. Like, I find all of the headlines, generally speaking, to be very favorable of him. Also, the news cycle on this really went away. Like, there was no cancel culture on Dana White. I found it all very surprising. That I don't know. It's almost like he has a form of protection where it's like he's part of that big club, and the big club said, "Okay, well, he's the president of UFC. He's the guy who gives us our bread and circus. So let's just sweep this away." And you are right, Nopal. I gotta say, man, I agree with a lot of what you were saying, man. It was a tricky situation. When you look at a situation like that, like all I can say is that humans shouldn't be hitting each other anyways. Like if you have a guy who's scrawny, he's not gonna go up to a big dude and hit him and think that he's not gonna get it back, right? And it's like I don't think women should just take for granted that they're not gonna get a receipt for getting hit. Now, I've never put hands on a woman. I've never been slapped by a woman. Okay. But it's like, these people are obviously partying. We know they're at least drunk. Like we don't know what the hell's gonna happen. It could just be an instant reaction. Like you said, no ball. I mean, it's obvious he didn't go full force. Like there's never a reason for a man to hit a woman, but I don't think there's any reason for a woman to hit a man. Like women are smart. Like they're just as smart as us, right? I mean, they can assault us as police officers. Now, I've never really seen like female security. I've seen them as like female officers. I've never really seen them as female security, but that's a whole nother story. But when they assault people, with batons or they slap, I mean, it can hurt too, right? Or like, what if a woman takes like an iron skillet to you? I mean, at what point are you allowed to defend yourself, right? This rule that you just, I don't know. No, Paul, you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, you just can't. I've had sisters before, bro, and one in particular, she, one of my sisters in particular, she was very disrespectful to everybody, and guess what? She got fucking slapped a couple times, and guess what? Even though she was in the wrong, for the honor of the family, we were forced to go avenge that sort of thing. But at the same time, guess what, Chicano?
Hmm.
We always had to remind my sister that she was in the wrong. She should never fucking disrespect people like that. You see what I'm saying? So, it's just it's one of them fucked up situations where, you know, it's just one of them toxic ass situations, man. And I hate that word, but guess what? I'm gonna use it today. You know,
Well,
and
yeah, I'm glad that we can speak frankly because I feel like there's like this looming like pressure to just not speak a little more openly, and we just have to condemn, and we need to condemn, right? Like neither of us are justifying assault
yeah,
with towards anybody, okay? But I mean, if you ask me, I think what Tank did with that hit and run is way worse than what he was accused of, or even like in that video of him put like kind of like kind of choking or bringing that girl up. Like I'd rather deal with that for a split second than like having Tank hit me with a car and then leave me for dead. I think that's even worse if you ask me.
damn. I mean, just like it just keeps getting worse, and I can understand why even the people on Twitter who are sticking up for Tank, first they claim racism, and then when you respond, they don't want to keep going with this sort of thing because Tank has a pretty big tail that can to be stepped on with multiple layers of fucking bullshit. So it's like, you could make this fake assumption that you think that people don't believe Tank because they're racist, but that's just stupid. The dude's got a bad record, man. He's done some fucked up shit. And like I said, it's going to take a long time for anybody to believe anything. It's going to take a long time of some very good actions from his part, for him to erase that type of shit. And some people, I hate to say it, but they will never fucking forgive that type of shit. And yes, I will accept, people are saying that there's the privilege that Dana White has. Yes, he's got a little bit of privilege, but guess what? That doesn't erase the fact that he wasted no time in apologizing for his actions immediately. You know what I'm saying? And I think that has to do a lot with just the big picture of everything. If Tank would have rushed, well, I guess he was in jail, huh? Right? So it was hard for him to just apologize. But even though when he gave his statement out, I mean, uh, you get a sense that, you could be a little more honest and accept that you got some kind of issue and that you're going to work on it. You know what I'm saying? Show the public some type of humility and things will go a little better. Uh, Also, I mean, when he talks, he sounds like his lawyer's probably writing all this shit for him, so that
Right,
doesn't help either. You know what I
right.
mean?
Well, the good news is usually after an altercation, that's when the honeymoon phase comes in, right? So it'll be good for at least a little while. It's fucked up. Okay, that's a bad, inappropriate joke. All right. Well, Remy here says I've never held women down, never hit one. Got it. Held women, but,
Remy.
but have you ever tied them up though, Remy? Have you ever tied them up? That's what I want to know.
Remy.
And I want to give a warm welcome from the shoe shine, Philly Irish, Drew Evo. What's happening, brother?
I would tear this girl up in this photo.
Yeah, man, she looks good, bro. No doubt about it. Like I'm like, fuck. I mean, I wouldn't be handling her feces the way Tank was, but
Nah,
no, but she's got it going on. You know what I'm saying?
she'll always be the part of him.
And I think those babies are real from what I can tell. Like, and I'm just like, I'm following her on IG now. That's all I can say. You know what I mean? She looks good.
See, Chicago's into that type of shit.
Hey man, I like women with good. Well, I do like Latinas. I like them all, right? But yeah, beautiful young ladies with curves. Like, yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. I'm all about it.
Drew would do the salsa over that.
You know what? There's been a couple times in my life where I've had the opportunity to dance with women with salsa, and I've failed terribly. And it's like, man, if I had just had like the moves, I would have been a little more. I don't want to say like successful, but I would have looked cooler. But it's like instead you have this woman here, right, and you can't do anything with her because you don't know how to salsa. Like it sucks being in that position. Nopal, you ever been there, brother? What about you, Drew? No.
I that salsa situation, you mean?
Well,
Of
yeah,
course,
where a girl's
bro.
looking like to for you to like take her and really dance with her because she knows what she's doing and you just don't know what it's like. Or do you know how to dance?
Of course, I know how to dance, bro. Come on, I
What
got
about that?
sisters, bro.
What about that Mexican dance where you kind of like always like bringing the girl around and shit with the boots and shit? Can you do that?
Oh man, I don't think I could do that one. But I mean, I'm sure I can do it. But would
Man,
I? Is a different story.
man, no Paul did that hillbilly dance.
The square dancing, bro.
Yeah. Take
Square
your
dancing.
partner, go around the left, go around the right.
Yeah, achy breaky heart, baby.
Yeah.
Man. So Drew, you got any final thoughts? Like, I don't even know if the shoe shine hasn't been around for a while, man. So we were just talking about Tank, what happened, we were talking about like, whether it's right or wrong. We all agree it's wrong to hit women, but we're also, talking about how, men shouldn't be hit either. We're talking about how this could possibly be fake and how crazy women are real. Nopal thinks that you shouldn't go with Latinas because sometimes it could be a little too crazy. You know what I mean? Tank should probably get a more. I don't know. Well, you can go back and listen to it. It was.
No, Paul, speak for yourself in that issue. I love the
I said some pretty fucked up shit, Drew. You might want to rewind later.
Yeah, I don't know why we're piping off so much today. It's like we both got like this sick sense of humor. But then again, like I said, man, Tank running into somebody, crashing their vehicle, and then leaving them for dead is a whole lot worse, right? And
oh hell yeah,
yeah, and we just didn't excuse that, and we joke around about other shit, like so. I mean, it's whatever. It's whatever. So, Drew, what are your thoughts on this altogether, brother?
Well, first of all, he left a pregnant person. A pregnant woman left for dead, which is more fucked up. But here's the thing: when you're at standards that you are at, and in your profession, which is a prize fighter, you like. He has a history of this. Like, he got caught on camera choking one. And people are saying, oh, he held her, he didn't choke her. Shut the fuck up. He choked her. I said. And then you got, like, yesterday I was on Ringside Reporter. You got people saying that, hey, we need to hold Dana White to the same standard. We are holding Dana White to the same standard. And people, and then this one dude say, well, there's no video of him hitting her. I'm like, but there's a video of him choking one. So what the fuck is your point? And I just don't get it, man. Like, why are we trying to say, oh, we need to hold people to the same standard? We are holding people to the same standard. They both been on TMZ. They both been in the top 10 of the stories. Dana White's been in the top 10 longer than fucking Tank Davis and everything. But I'm going to speak on another thing. Here's the situation. Jason Kidd, in his marriage, there was domestic abuse and everything, but it wasn't him. It was his wife. And he let it go. Never put his hands on her. And that was part of the main reason why they divorced and everything, because he was being abused by her. That's like, people got to look at it like this. Us as men trigger like a lot different from women, because if you're like 225 pounds and your woman's like 115 pounds and she's like 7 inches shorter than you and everything, she hits you, that's just not gonna hurt that much. But if you hit her, you really punch her or something, and men tend to snap. It gets worse and everything. Women, they're gonna do the little snappy routine and everything, and like maybe throw something at you. But men can really black out and do physically bodily harm to a female. Well, that woman could be really permanently damaged or worse, dead. And like, we had situations like that happen. And then there's like physical abuse, like domestic violence, when that NFL football offensive lineman beat the balls off his fiance, beat her up so badly he almost killed her. The photos even showed it and everything. Like, we tell you the truth, it's a hard topic to talk about and everything, but they both of these things they're in the wrong. Dana
Right.
White's in the wrong. Tank Davis is in the wrong, and even Tank Davis at least came out to public and said, "Hey, I have an anger problem, and I need to get it fixed." And he does. And the other thing is, like I said before, his fight should not happen now. It shouldn't. It shouldn't happen when that video of him choking that girl. It shouldn't have happened before. But you let sexual accusations against Roy Romero pull him out of the fight, and Showtime tries to cover their tracks. Say, "Oh, it wasn't us that stopped the fight. It was Rawley saying he wanted out. It was the WBA." That's a load of bullshit. Because when someone calls you out on it, you should have said that right away when Rawley first had to be pulled out.
Right, and he wasn't even charged with anything.
Yeah, not a fucking year later when someone's actually backlashing you at it. And that's what it's a bad, horrible look. And tell you the truth, Tank's going to get a pass. He's going to fight this guy. He's probably going to go on and say, "Hey, I don't want to fight no more after this." And we're not going to see that bullshit where I ain't going to see a fight.
You know, the way that you put this whole situation, Drew, I want to ask you because, you know, sometimes people are quick to say, "Hey, there's a different standard because Dana White is white." But if you reverse the situation, it seems like you could really say, "Hey, that may be true, right? That there's a different standard for Dana White." And it might be totally reversed because we expect more out of Dana White. But a guy like Tank goes in there and does something stupid like that. Countless other shit, too, that he did that's fucked up. Right?
Yeah.
And is there a different standard going that way where we allow Tank to get away with all this stupid shit just because it's Tank? You see what I'm saying? Why is the different standard right there where the other guy right away rushed to fucking apologize and admit his guilt and all that? It's just because these are two total different situations, in my opinion. The other person obviously holds himself to a different standard. You see what I'm saying? So
here's the thing.
You know it.
When it comes, if people are going to put in race on this thing, man, they need to shut the fuck up, number one. Because the thing about this has nothing to do with fucking race. Like and like you say before, when they get the rebuttal when they bring up the race topic and everything, they shut up afterwards because they have nothing to rebuttal against. It's like this: Dana White is a CEO of possibly the best mixed martial arts company in the world and everything. He's always in the spotlight. He's mostly always in the spotlight. When you talk about UFC, the first thing that comes up is Dana White. So if you look at it like this, Dana White has a lot of better people around. Must have a lot of better people around him.
Nah, he's protected. He's in the club, bro. That's what I've been saying.
See, they're two different situations, though. This is the problem I have, right? I salute to everyone. I hope everyone's
What's up,
doing well.
Jimmy? Nice to see you, man.
Salute, bro. I hope you guys all had a nice New Year's and Christmas.
Likewise.
See, my thing is, this, bro, I feel like they're two different situations, right? See, with Tank, right, he ran down on his baby mama, grabbed her by the neck, and dragged her off stage, unprovoked, right? And then he had a hit and run on a pregnant woman, and then the police was called. So there's a history there. With Dana White, even though I don't personally agree with what he did, she slapped him first, right? He slapped her back. Old married couple. I mean, I'm sure this shit happens with most people around the world. Not to that level, right? I mean, I don't agree with what happened, but at the end of the day, bro, she slapped him first. He slapped her back, and then he came out and apologized. I don't recall his wife coming out and stating a public apology that, you know what, I shouldn't have started this shit. I mean, my thing is this with women, bro. If you feel comfortable publicly physically assaulting your husband, especially considering your husband is a well-respected media figure in the sports world, slapping the shit out of him, then I mean, bro, whatever comes your way, comes your way. You know, even though I don't agree with it, but you know, if my girlfriend slapped the shit out of me in front of everyone, I probably wouldn't return fire. But it was they were all drunk. It's like you said, we were drunk. It was a heated situation. I shouldn't have fired back, right? That was his response. I shouldn't have slapped her back. I should have just took the slap and walked away. Key difference: Tank running up on his baby mama, grabbing her by the neck and dragging her off, then doing a hit and run on a pregnant woman, and then police being called because apparently he was trying to murder his girlfriend or whatever. Completely different situations, right? Dana White does not have a track record of doing this, and Dana White was retaliating to being slapped, which again I don't agree with, right? So it's not like I'm defending Dana White, but with Tank, he wasn't defending himself when he grabbed his girlfriend by the neck and dragged her off stage in a basketball game. Never apologized for that. Did a hit and run on a pregnant woman. The motherfucker's trying to cop a plea. And then he did the situation with his girlfriend, which I don't know if it's real or not. I mean, how many times do you guys beat the shit out of their wives and they come out and say, "Oh, you know what? I'm not going to press charges." So I mean, look, I'm just going to leave that situation alone. That is what it is. But I feel like comparing the two situations, bringing race into this, that's just like some weird homosexual energy. I don't get it.
Yeah,
and when you
go ahead, Nopal.
When you talk about race, Jimmy, it's like I just try to break it down without going too much into a double standard that goes the other way, because I'm not even going to mention race, but I'm going to say we expect. Why is it that even the public, you know what I mean? Like, we expect certain people to uphold all kinds of good ass shit. Yeah, other people get a pass for being fucking ghetto and shit like that. And so it's a fucked up situation if you want to say, oh, there's a double standard because this guy gets away with. He didn't get away with it, bro. That's his fucking wife, and he apologized for it, which gives you the understanding that he knew he shouldn't have fucking slapped her back.
It didn't look like it was the first time that they've kind of got a little spicy
Tussled
with each other. Yeah. All kinds of shit happens behind closed doors. All kinds of shit. You know what I mean? Like, we could sit there and go, and we should admonish, any type of like woman beating or just beating and any type of assault in general. But like, to act like this stuff doesn't happen within families between husband and wife, like, it's just foolish. Like, I'm not saying it happens all the time where it should, but I mean, come on, we've all been around. We're all older. We know what's up.
My thing is this, though: you can say whatever you want to someone, but once you physically put your hands on someone, whatever return fire comes your way, I mean, it is what it is,
Right.
I mean, look, we've all fucked up with girls. I've had fucking, pants thrown at me and shit. When I was caught doing something I shouldn't be doing. Like, come on, like, we've all been guilty of doing that, right? But like, in a public environment, I think Dana White should have handled it better. But my thing is this, though, bro: you cannot slap the shit out of someone right at a party where all his friends and all his family are there, and it's a drunk environment, and not expect, okay, he's a slap her back, right? And it's not like he punched the lights out or dragged her by the hair. He fired back and it got broken up. And then he apologized straight away. And he said, you know what, me and my wife, we've been married for 30 years. Trust me, we're okay. We're happy. Don't worry about us. But, it is what it is.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree. Okay, so Philly, you said that, if a 115-pound girl slapped you, you said you wouldn't do anything, right? And you shouldn't, right? That's what you said? Okay, well, what if she identified as non-binary?
What the fuck you mean?
I'm just saying. Okay. So
motherfucker gotta say that. Like, this shit.
What does that mean? First of all, I don't know what the fuck that means.
I think it means that, like, okay. Well, what if she identified as a male?
All right, time out. We're not gonna get to this clever wording shit.
Okay. All right. I'm just messing around.
And you're gonna stop doing it too now. We're not gonna be sneaky and everything up in this shit.
All right.
What about this one? What if you were on the subway and you got caught in that fucking 8-ball jacket situation with, like, that one dude who gets basically assaulted by like 3 females? You're gonna tell me you're not gonna slap the bitch back, Drew? Come on, bro.
I'm gonna let one out. I'm gonna let a fart out and hope it to go away.
Okay.
Oh my God, Drew! I just lost respect for you, man.
No,
okay, so you're not gonna protect yourself versus 3 crazy ass females who are assaulting you.
Now here's the thing.
I'm not saying go full force knocking them out. I'm just saying at a certain point you got to restrain at least one of them or something like that. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna push them, physically push them or grab them and throw them and everything. But the thing about it is, I'm not gonna do much damage with a throw because I'm gonna control how I'm throwing them. But listen to this: if it was a man in a dress, I probably will beat the balls off them because it's a man. And
Wow,
but
Drew.
look at
See, the way my mother
but look
raised
at
me.
look at like this. Look at this like this. They were drinking, they were drunk. Like it brings out the truth a little bit when you're drinking and everything. But here's the thing: this may have happened before behind closed doors. Like you also gotta look at it like that too. It may have happened behind closed doors too, and it just got out of hand in public. Like that's one thing that people don't really discuss. But here's another thing that they're talking about double standard. People will be able to bring footage of Tank doing it that is not TMZ related. They only got footage of Dana from TMZ. So if the reason why people have been able to bring Tank's footage up more than Dana's, because if they bring the Dana White footage up, TMZ will give them a copyright strike. Everybody else wouldn't, because Tanks has footage outside of TMZ. And there's no footage also of TMZ can present of a physical altercation of Tank. And that's a
Yes,
you talk about, we need to hold to the same standard. We all hold it to the same standard. They both stories were in the top 10. Dana White spent in the top 10 longer than Tank, because tell you the truth, Tank is not as famous as Dana White. And tell you the truth, like Tank Davis was only been in the top 10 stories possibly for like 3 days. Dana White's been in there for over a week. Like,
See, I disagree with you though, Philly. Philly, see, I disagree with you, bro, because you see, my mother raised me like, don't ever put your hands on a female, right? But she also raised me, you're not a fucking chump. Don't let a female beat the shit out of you for no reason. Like, but at some point, you gotta like defend yourself. Like, I mean, are you not a human being? Are you some kind of just dog that's just gonna get beaten down? Like come on, bro. Like, again,
you physically have to force them off you, even if you have to grab them and throw them down and hold them down. And then the to authority say, yo, you're not going to hit me anymore. And if she continue, lock her in a room or get away from her, call the police, defuse the situation. Because here's the thing.
That's kidnap, Drew. That's kidnap, bro. Lock her in the room.
I mean, I don't know, bro. Like, maybe I'm more harsh though, but like, and even if it comes to like, say if it was my sister, which I don't have, or a daughter, which I don't have, right? Like, I'd let them know, like, look, it's not okay for you to violently assault a man multiple times and not expect any return fire. Like, that's fucking madness.
Right. You take your chances. That's what I had to say. Hey, real quick, I don't know if this is the real Rachel Donaire, but if it is, salute. Welcome to the show. Met your husband once, real nice guy, Bay Area, right? So, hey, nice to have you here. And then JC says here that Jimmy's a good lad. Well, I don't know if you were listening earlier, but, well, it sounds like Jimmy had some frying pans thrown at him, and he might have had it coming. Jimmy, do you want to tell us about that story real quick, man? I'd love to hear it.
Oh, you know what? Like, at the end of the day, bro, look, man, when you're a young guy, you do a lot of things you shouldn't be doing, especially when you're in a relationship. We've all been guilty of, trying to, do things we shouldn't be doing, like when you're in a committed relationship, right? I mean, when you get offered look, man, at the end of the day, look, I was just sleeping around basically, and
hey,
I
man,
got caught. And hey, man, women are smarter than you think, Now, women,
yes,
they are a lot smarter than you think. So, yeah, I just got caught, sleeping around, and yeah, man, I mean, shit got, quite hectic. It was my fault, so, I kind of tried to defuse the situation, which I did, and it was what it was, I'm not proud of it, but hey, man, it is what it is.
No, it is, man. Well, hey, let's move on to another subject. But if Rachel Donaire does indeed come on, we'll kick it to her. But man, what I would love to do is just give some thoughts on 2022 going into 2023. Well, actually, let's see if this is the real Rachel Donaire. Hello, welcome to Chile.
Jimmy, why are you hurting people?
No. See,
I'm just kidding.
What I'm saying is, look, when you're young, we all do stupid things, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, me and Nonito were in the beginning of our relationship. He never touched me, but he hit walls.
No. She threw the frying pan at me, so I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing. Not physical assault or nothing like that. So.
Hey, man, frying pans are serious business. And yeah, I mean, I've hit walls. I've never... Rachel, welcome to the show, by the way. Okay, so, I mean, things got a little testy early. I mean, what are your thoughts on women hitting men?
I don't think it's right. I think we should go back to kindergarten and learn that we're supposed to keep our hands to ourselves.
Right. People
I
shouldn't
mean,
be hitting people in general.
I never, put my hands on Nonito because I'm afraid of a reaction, not just like a boxing reaction. You know what I'm saying? Because there's built-in reaction muscles that are just built to them. They get hit, they hit back, like just
Totally.
automatically without even thinking. So for me, I don't, there's no damn way. Like I'll scream at him and poke him, but not poke him like literally, but with my words to agitate him, but I'm not that dumb. I think the problem is we have been brought up in society that two things. One, the underlining factor that, when you're young, if you have a sister and a brother, they say, don't hit your sister, she's a girl. The little sister hears that. So she feels protected that she's never going to get a reaction, right? She's never going to get hit because mama and papa are going to get really upset that he's putting hands on a girl. Then we tell the little girl when she goes out into the schoolyard and a boy's teasing her, pushing her around and stuff like that. We tell her, oh, it means he likes you. So I think those two weird ways of speaking to children has ingrained into us females that a guy will never hit you.
Man, wow, you took it back to like when we're young, and you know what? You're right. They tend to feel like they have this form of protection, and they can get a little bit brazen. And Rachel, we were just talking about how and Jimmy was mentioning this earlier. Like women are extremely smart. They know what they're doing. It's a calculated risk is what they're doing. You know, and also words can hurt too. And it's like you were talking earlier about your relationship with Nonito. Like I understand he's a warrior, but he's such a man of peace with like his prayers and his archangels. It'd be hard to think of him actually getting enough like of a riled up momentum to actually do anything. You know what I mean? Outside of it, he's I like his state of mind when I hear him in interviews.
Yeah, he normally walks away. He'll go into another room or something to cool off, and I'll be honest, us women, we want to finish the argument, right? We're not going to just let you walk into them, so we'll follow you into the other room. But Nonito's strangely, weirdly good at so what irritates me is like we'll be arguing and then he'll go to the bedroom. So I'm like, okay, he's just cooling off in the bedroom. So I go in there 10 minutes later and he's sleeping. I'm like, this motherfucker is sleeping. We're having an argument. So I wake him up and we continue arguing. And that's my bad. We've gone a long way past that. I mean, you guys have to remember we've been together since 2007. I was the first real relationship of Nonito. He's never been in a relationship before me. So I understood that there was going to be stuff that he, confrontations between a couple that he had never experienced before. So we had growing pains for sure.
Oh man, that's great stuff. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Yeah, I've been a big fan of your husband, and I met him back in the day. When I think it was at some fight in Vegas. Real nice guy. Like I said, it's been a real pleasure watching his career, and then watching you train him and him continue his career. Actually, I was going to shift subjects, and I would love your take on this next one because we're just going to be reflecting on 2022 going into 2023. And your husband, he's really good at making different types of weights. And one of the things that I've seen happen in the year 2022, in my opinion, is that we've kind of gone into from like I wouldn't classify it as like weight bullying, but now all of a sudden like we've come to like weight drainage victims, like a victim mentality for people who stay at a certain weight. Rachel, I would just love to know what your thoughts were on general. Like I've seen the dynamic change on the views of this, and I just would love to know what you have to say about it as a trainer.
I can't speak on the other fighters. Of course, I'm not in their camps. And like all I could say is that, there are people that do, and there's people that don't, and there's a perception that they drain themselves unnecessarily. So one of the big misconceptions with Nonito is he's so freaking big, right? The thing is he's not that big. He's tall. I'll give you that. But his shoulders, his biceps, his chest, he's not a big individual. It's actually really hard for me to get him to gain weight. And he's expressed to me that once he retires, he wants to like walk around at 147 because he wants to grab some, he wants to gain muscle. It's really difficult for him to hold weight and build muscle without gaining like slow twitch like weight. You know what I mean? Like the heavier you get, the slower you get. So I think that's the common misperception with Nonito, because he walks around usually about 133 to 135 normally. Once he starts camp 12 weeks out, his first training session, 4 to 6 rounds of sparring, he's already down to 128, 129. And he walks around that till he amps up the sparring. Once he amps up the sparring, he gets down to 122. The morning of the Inoue fight, he was at 120, still eating and drinking. And then he went back to sleep at 12 noon, which was an hour before the weigh-ins. I woke him up. I go, dude, you still have 2 pounds. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll cut it. He cut it in 7 minutes. And he
Wow.
still had more to cut if we needed to, but he didn't need to. So I think it really depends on the body style of the person. If they are cutting healthy, right? I know at one point in his career, well, when I first met him, he was walking at 147, but he was fat. Like, it was disgusting. Like, and then he would fight at 112.
Well, that's a lot of weight
Damn.
cutting.
Yeah, but he had this mentality in the story that he hadn't grown out of, because you have to understand that he grew up in a neighborhood that in the province, he didn't have electricity. So they didn't have refrigerators. So they ate dried fish a lot because it's
Oh,
preserved, right? So when he came to America and ate like everything, and then they would cut weight, then he would eat everything again. Like, he lost the body's natural ability to tell you, hey, I'm full, stop eating. That's one mentality. The second one was because they didn't have enough, they didn't have refrigeration. Whatever was on your plate, you had to eat. You ever remember that when you're growing up? Your parents
Sure.
always said,
yeah,
don't waste food. So he would
yeah.
eat everything on his plate, even though he was full, because his parents told him to not waste food. Well, we're in an age right now that you could put it in the refrigerator and heat it up later, right? So
Right.
we've had to break this whole thing with him. Um, for it took a couple years for him to get that his body to retell him, hey, stop eating, like, it's okay, like, you had a steak, you don't also need to eat the lasagna on the full lasagna plate and this and that as well. Like, he's had discipline in hearing his body, which is what
Man.
brought his weight down to naturally about 130 to 135 walk weight.
Do you ever have any concerns leading up to when you guys are fighting an opponent of the other person's weight when they rehydrate? I mean, or is that just, well, hey, they made the weight, so that's not really a concern? Like, does that cross your mind as a team?
um it did only in the 26. Um, like I said, Nonito was walking around like 130, 135. He weighed in, yeah, he didn't have to cut anything. He just didn't eat the morning of the weigh-ins and he'd make 126. When he'd walk in the ring, you're looking at 130, 131. And I remember seeing Walters walk into the ring. I'm like, what the hell did we just walk into? I never even thought about it until then, that these guys were rehydrating to 145, 150. Carl Frampton walked in the ring at 150. And when we lost to Carl, that's one of the things that, we said in the locker room after Carl told us. I was like, we can't be at 26. You're nowhere near these. You're not even 140, So that's why we dropped down. Um, it was just, the thing is, even though Nonito was smaller than them, the way that his technique in throwing a punch was always devastating because his foundational training was correct.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Rachel. I'm just going to kick this subject to everybody else. Please feel free to hang out if you like, and then after that, we're just going to talk about like what we're looking forward to or any dynamic shifts. But does anybody have any comments on the idea that now all of a sudden we're getting from like, well, what was quote unquote weight bullying to like drainage victims? Anybody got anything on that?
Well, it's mostly common in MMA. That's the main thing when it comes to weight training and everything, because they suffer the most from it. Like, they in the morning of the weigh in or when they get weighed in, a lot of them actually collapse and everything backstage or something, and some of these fights are called off because of it. But when it comes to boxing, I remember Carlos Beldomir when he fought at 140 and 147. They said Carlos Beldomir before he started camp weighted at like 210 to 220 pounds before he starts camp, and this was like a 8-week camp that he would do, and he will be down to that weight by the time the fight starts. And there was never an issue with him losing the weight. And like he would rehydrate They said when the night of the fight, he would rehydrate maybe 10, 15 pounds during the fight nights and everything. Like there's not really a lot of weight drain issues in boxing because of training methods. Nutritionists are probably better in some areas than it is in MMA, but like there's boxers that weigh in at like that fight at 147 or lower, and some of these guys coming to camp maybe weighing in 60 pounds, between like 50 to 70 pounds heavier than the weight they're supposed to be at.
Yeah, I
think
agree
some
with
of
him.
the
MMA fighters, and Nonito trains. Well, Zhang went back to China, but he was training Zhang Wei Li, and the thing is with them is that their overall muscle in their body is a larger surface area. Like they have muscles in their legs, their back. They constantly lift, right, to get bigger. And when they're cutting, like it's harder. Like you see these videos of them doing like baths, sleeping in freaking wrapped up blankets, kind of stuff, kind of a really extreme, what I think. But I understand it because I was Taekwondo and it was harder for me to cut weight because my leg muscles were a lot bigger. So that's why I think like, MMA is so extreme when it comes to weight because it really is harder for them considering where their muscles are.
I think it depends on the fighter as well, because I feel like some fighters, when they move up and down the weights, they still look in really good shape, and some fighters don't. I'm not sure if that's nutrition or if it's genetics, or if it depends on the fighter how they train. I think opportunity as well, I think, is a key point, because some weight classes have got more money in them than others, right? So I think certain fighters, even though they outgrow a weight class, like example welterweight or middleweight or whatever weight class is, um, they'll kill themselves to make weight just to, because they know all the money is in that division, or the world titles are easier to get in a particular division. I think a lot of it also comes down to opportunities as well, as far as making money or getting belts.
Right.
Oh
Like
yeah, I
Devin
mean
Haney.
Nonito did that for from 18 to 22, 26 is because they kept offering him bigger money to move up. So, but I'm gonna go, guys. It's a weekday. I have a bunch of stuff to do. I got just wanted to talk on the domestic violence stuff. I'll leave you guys to the boxing. We're talking boxing well, not really talking boxing tonight, but Ivan wants Adrian Boner's next opponent wants to go in on Tank live. So I'm like, all right, well.
Hey, you know what? I didn't know y'all had a channel. Rachel, it was a real pleasure meeting you. Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to subscribe. I've always been a huge fan of your husband. And, I've always liked your interviews and his interviews as well, as I've heard them around. So thank you so much for joining us.
No, of course, but I'm just going to warn you. Tonight's not one of those where it's called War Wednesday. So it's just unfiltered. Whatever the hell he wants to say, we're not like stamping it, supporting it. We're just giving him the medium, but at all no means does it is our view.
So Rachel, nope. This is no Paul Boxianos, by the way. You say Broner's gonna be on there?
No. Adrian Broner's fighting him next.
Oh, fighting who?
February.
Okay.
Yeah, he seems to have a lot of things he wants to talk about. Yes, Reddish. He wants to talk about Loma, Usyk. He doesn't like Usyk a lot, apparently, and Tank. And I'm sure he's going to talk some smack about Adrian Broner, too. So we're just.
European?
Huh?
Is he Eastern European? Is Redditch?
He's Ukrainian.
Is he Eastern? Oh, okay, there we go. Oh, that makes sense now, because I know a lot of these Eastern Europeans have got beefs with each other.
Well, I'm gonna ask him because we've been talking the last couple days, and he said something about that Usyk and Lomachenko are on the state traitor list.
Oh, state traitor? Oh, damn.
Really? That's interesting.
They always
Yeah,
put them in front, like showing that they're ready to go to war for their country, didn't they? Like on Twitter.
yeah, but I think from what I understand, because of course I had to translate it from Russian, was something about they posted a sermon that was approving or confirming that Ukraine is supposed to be under Russia. It's supposed to be one country, which is what Ukraine's been fighting their independence for. So it was kind of,
I know why they
weird.
did that. I know
I
why they
don't know.
did that.
Oh, you do know?
I think they did that. Yeah, yeah, they did that originally because well, Lomachenko and Usyk, they had they went on these great amateur runs, right? Olympic champions. A lot of the funding actually came from Russia for their amateur careers. I think maybe
Oh.
that's the reason why. Because
Well,
it was
hopefully
all
he'll
at
be
one
able to tell
Soviet
us
Union.
because I have no idea. I actually reached out to some of my government contacts to tell me what does that actually mean. I reached out to my FBI guys and they're like, dude, we don't know anything about that. We're doing other stuff. And I'm like, well, who am I supposed to talk to? And they're like, the CIA. And I'm like, well, y'all are the same. And he's like, Rachel, shut up. And I'm like, just find me the answer. What does it mean? Does it mean he can't ever go back to Russia or to Ukraine? What does it mean? So I don't know when I'm going to get that answer, but
Because I
yeah,
remember Lomachenko taking pictures in Ukraine with the army and stuff. So how can it be banned if they were
this
in
just came out
Ukraine?
recently, like within the last 2 days.
Hmm. Well, we'll see. It looks like we're going to get some more information tonight. So, Rachel, thank you so much. And I'm going to be tuning in. I'll find your channel. Like, let me put it in the link. And I'll be there chilling, So, yeah, we appreciate it.
Yep. Talk to you guys later.
All right. Bye
Bye.
now.
All right, see you, Rachel. Bye.
Jimmy, you touched on a really good point about fighters taking like opportune fights. And that's one of the reasons I think that Haney is saying at 135, obviously, because it would benefit him to fight Loma because
Yeah.
it's the right time to fight him. Plus, he doesn't have to fight the big boys at 140, and he gets credit if he can make the weight, right? But now he's talking about like they're trying to drain me by moving this to May. So I don't know, man. Like it's hard for me to see it both ways, and I've just noticed this shift, of dialogue, and even the Spence fans, man. I'm hearing them kind of go like, well, okay, I thought it was a problem that Crawford was being aged out, but now the Spence fans are being like, oh, he's trying to drain Spence. He's drawing it out so Spence can be drained. You know what I mean? And Rivera's been hospitalized, so it's just I'm seeing all this, man, and it doesn't mean that like weight's not a factor because it is. But I mean, does anybody have any additional thoughts on this particular subject?
I
Sorry.
remember Crawford spiking Spence's water and asking him to get into 3 car wrecks over the last 3 years. I don't remember Crawford giving him a voucher to go use at Krispy Kreme's to buy as many jelly donuts as he wants. I mean, Errol Spence is a sack of pudding because he's a slob and a drunk, and can't hold his liquor. So I don't know what that's got to do with Crawford.
Hey, that's a good call.
It's just fighters trying to use excuses if they lose a fight.
Oh yeah, so it's just something I wanted to touch on, and then the only other thing that I would like to touch on personally, in regards to what I'm looking forward to in 2023, is the return of Saul Canelo Alvarez. Now, this is a pro. We like we're Mexicans here, except when we got good guests like Philly from Ireland and Jimmy from the UK. But we love everybody and we got respect for all fighters. But we're big fans of Canelo here. I'm excited to see him return in 2023, man.
Me too, bro. He's my favorite fighter. I feel like he's the face of boxing. I mean, he carries a sport on his back like no other, and I feel like he's a really good representation of what a champion is. And yeah,
very good, man. Because you know what, you're right, dude. And it's been a while since he's had any type of announcement, and nobody's really been talking about him. I mean, there's a lot of channels still talking about Spence Crawford, right, and other circumstances. But very soon, Canelo will be announcing his opponent. So, Jimmy, if he does, well, first off, what are your thoughts on him fighting Ryder in general? If he does
I
fight
think
Ryder.
it's actually I think it's a really good opponent considering the circumstances, right? He's coming off a 8 or 9 month layoff and hand surgery. And John Ryder, like if we're honest, 100% of us is mandatory, bro. John Ryder is the WBO interim champion. He's ranked #1 in the WBO. And if you look at his last couple of opponents, he's been on a really good tear. Danny Jacobs as the underdog, Zach Parker as the underdog. Callum Smith, I mean, this guy's out here fighting guys like Callum Smith, who's a fucking powerhouse. Danny Jacobs, very good talented fighter. Zach Parker as the underdog. And he actually did that as a B-side. He actually crossed the street, went to a Frank Warren show. Because this guy's an Eddie Hearn, the zone fighter. He crossed the street, went to go fight on BT Sport for peanuts because he wanted the opportunity to win the interim belt, right? To put himself in a position. So I have no problem. I think John Ryder's been putting in some serious work. I mean, who else is out here fighting in the Callum Smiths, the Danny Jacobs, the Zach Parkers back to back? I think he's in a good run. He's probably one of the most improved fighters in all of boxing. Um, and he's got a good action, fan friendly style. So I think him and Canelo will put on a good fight. And I'm hearing it might be in England, so I'm gonna go to that shit. So,
Fuck
so I mean, I
yeah.
like the fight, man. I'm a fan of the fight. I think if any other fighter was fighting John Ryder, right, Benavidez, Charlo, or Andrade, that would probably be their signature win.
Right. He's peeled off a couple good wins. I don't know why everybody was crying robbery. I put money on Jacobs in that fight, and I thought Ryder won that fight. That's just me, right? No bias here. I thought he won that fight. Yeah, he's got a deep resume. I think he fought Saunders and Eubank too, right? Or am I tripping?
Yeah, he fought Billy Joe. He fought Billy
Oh,
Joe early on. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I mean, and some people think he beat Callum Smith.
Yeah, a lot of people thought he beat Callum Smith. I know the Jacobs fight was close, but look, either way you've got it. So he was unlucky against Callum Smith, and he was lucky against Jacobs. Right, that evens itself out. I thought he beat Jacobs. I mean, it was close, but I thought he edged it. But and obviously Zach Parker. I mean, Zach Parker was a big, strong guy, undefeated Olympian, could switch it. I thought Zach Parker was going to destroy him, bro. Like Zach Parker was a big favorite.
Yes, he
He was
was.
a young guy. He had a lot of hype, and it was on a Frank Warren show, right? BT Sport. So I thought it was going to be like maybe 6 rounds, and he went in there and just bullied him, bro. And yeah, John Ryder's I think a very underrated fighter, a very improved fighter, a legitimate top 5 guy in the division, and he's the mandatory, bro. So that's what champions are supposed to do, right? Fight their mandatories. So I have no issue with the fight. I think it's a good fight. I think stylistically, I actually think John Ryder will give Canelo a tougher fight than what people think. I think Canelo will win. I think he'll actually knock John Ryder out. But I think John Ryder's he's a game dog, bro. I think he'll come in there and he'll bring the heat, and he's gonna force Canelo to really put a beating on him.
Yeah, and the thing I like about Ryder is like he wasn't waiting around for this payday. It's nice to see him get blessed with, just doing his hard work as he does, and then all of a sudden possibly falling into a Canelo fight, which could net him, I'm sure, more than he's ever made. So I'd be very happy for him, and it is a solid tune-up.
Yeah.
Nopal, what do you think about all this, man? Canelo in 2023, baby. What are your thoughts?
Well, I like it, man, because Canelo does appear to be on kind of like on his kind of like on a decline, so we got to give him at least a cool fight, but at the same time I kind of understand where Jimmy's coming from. I mean, it could be a hard fight too, because I can only see this fight going one way. It's going to be like full Mexican style, you know what I mean? Looks like it's going to be in the pocket and all that, so this could it sounds like an exciting fight.
Yeah, and Canelo will be facing somebody that's roughly his same size. Last time it was like that, I think, was Billy Joe. Like they were kind of close, but it's interesting to see Canelo fight somebody like actually his own size. But you're right, Nopal, like Canelo is on, he's past prime, past peak in my opinion. But I think this is a solid fight, a solid win going into September. And we've heard that Eddie Hearn is possibly trying to set up a rematch between Canelo Alvarez and Dimitri Bivol, except it would be at 168 pounds for Canelo's undisputed titles. Drew, Evo, what are your thoughts on all this?
That's a good tune-up. I can put it as a good tune-up. It's way better than the Yurjum fight, that's for sure. But it's like this. It's a tune-up to a better fight. Unlike other fights that I could see from other fighters and everything. But this is a good tune-up that goes to a better fight. Like John Ryder could cause some issues, maybe for like 2 rounds, but he ultimately gets knocked out inside 7 rounds. But like the Zach Parker fight, that only ended because Zach Parker hurt his hand.
I wonder if it's going to be on pay-per-view.
Ryder was looking pretty good. That's what I thought.
He was looking good, but it was a close fight before it got stopped.
Will it be pay-per-view though?
Yeah,
in the UK, yes.
I'm not sure though, because I think it's got a global. It's got a streaming deal, right, with the Zone globally. So I'm not sure where. Maybe it'd probably be pay-per-view in the UK. I'm not sure about America though.
Not in America. I don't think.
it's not Ryder's problem that Parker got injured, right? I mean,
Yeah, he won the
like I
fight,
said,
but
Ryder got this whole situation, it's worked out for him. Very rarely do you see somebody who's like a strong contender. We'll call him that, like a really strong, solid contender, top 5 guy. Like Jimmy says, like, kind of get some kind of comeuppance like this. And he stayed busy. All these part-time fighters, like, I want to see some big fights. Speaking of like 2023, I want to see some big fights from like Charlo. I want to see some actual fight dates, like Benavidez versus Plant. If Wilder's going to get it on, I want to see some scheduling is what I want to see in January. You know what I'm saying?
Chicano. Yeah, bro. I was actually going to say, I've seen nothing of Jamal Charlo that suggests he's a better fighter or a tougher fight, sorry, than John Ryder. He hasn't fought in nearly 2 years. He looked like garbage against Montiel. A lot of people thought he got outboxed by Korobov, a washed up Korobov. So all this Charlo hype, I mean, I don't buy the hype, bro. I think John Ryder, in my opinion, if they were to fight in the next 6 months, I think John Ryder's got a great chance to beat the shit out of Charlo. I mean, this isn't a Montiel, this isn't a washed up Korobov, and Charlo, for all the hype he gets, I mean, this guy's done. I mean, he hasn't fought a champion in about what 9 years, and that
It's
was
bad.
a 50-year-old K9. That was a 50-year-old K9 Bundridge, right? Who had about what 10 losses? Like, come on, bro.
Yeah, nobody talks about how old K9 was in that fight. I do, like I'll bring it up. It's yeah, and I feel bad for Jamal. Like, he's obviously going through some stuff, and okay, I'm kind of circling back, but we were talking earlier about how, like, Tank's the breadwinner for his baby mama. But I saw this video, so I follow Chantel Charlo, that's his ex-wife. They just got a divorce, and she like tracked him down when he was at a Target, and she's trying to act sweet, like, will you buy me this stuff? Will you buy me that stuff? And he's like, man, I ain't had a fight in like 2 years. He literally said, like, I don't got no money to be spending money on you right now. And she's like, well, I know you ain't paying child support. And then they got into a fight. Like, I couldn't believe what I was watching, right? But pretty sad, and she did say, like, right when they were about to break up, she did say, like, you won't see this guy fight. He's broke. And it looked like they were going to get their shit repoed. So, I mean, the guy did it to himself. Bad advisors over there, they played it wrong, or maybe they knew the extent of his skills. Like, he didn't look that great against Montiel. How do you keep moving this guy to get that ultimate payday? It might not even happen. John Ryder would be a tougher fight, in my opinion. And I always said that Jamal Charlo would be the ultimate cherry pick for Canelo, but it might not even happen. And that's okay. But the only thing that bugs me, bro, is like, Jimmy, we talked about this the last time you were on, like, hate watching, so I go and I hate watch. They're still talking about like how Canelo doesn't take the best challenges. Well, one of the only 2 people that you could be talking about, it would have to be Jamal Charlo or Andrade based on history. Those would be like the only 2 that you could say, like, he didn't fight, even though they were lower ranked tiered middleweights than Cotto, who was the lineal champ, Triple G, right, who was the number 1 ranked unified champ, and then Danny Jacobs, who was ranked above Jamal, right? Yep. But I mean, so I would get some satisfaction, but you could bet that they won't give him any credit if he beats Jamal. And he shouldn't fight Jamal. Jamal has been out of the ring for 2 years. I don't know what the hell they're going to do with him.
Yeah, and you know what?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick, Jimmy, and you know what? As in reference to that, Chicano, the ultimate fuck you to that argument is basically Bivol, because he goes in there and whoops Andrade and Charlo easily. And, I think Andrade was asked about that. Would you even fight somebody like Bivol? And his answer was, when you move up weight classes, you really got to pick your opponents. He's like, that was his answer, meaning no, I would never fight Bivol. And, I mean, you can't. The other side of that argument is that Canelo only fought him because he thought it was a cherry pick. I don't think so, bro. I think Canelo and his team are smart enough to look at a boxer and be able to say, hey, we should, we can beat the guy or whatever, or let's give it a try. And I think that they took a risk thinking maybe they could win, but at the same time, I believe they went into that fight knowing the possibility that, they were going to lose too. So they chose to take a challenge, and, I haven't seen Andre do shit like that. So, hey, he has no respect for me, bro.
All right. See, what kills me about Andrade is I used to defend him, right? Because I think at middleweight, I felt like Charlo did duck him, Eddie Hearn was, damn near begging this dude to take $7-8 million to come over and unify. And Jamal Charlo was talking about how he's got bigger plans. I guess Montiel and Korobov are bigger fights for what was it, $1.5 million or whatever it was. He called out Benavidez, started making threats. When Benavidez called his bluff, he fucking bottled it, right? And I mean, since what's he done? I mean, He's been out of the ring for 2 years. He looked that trash against a journeyman, a
Right.
blown up welterweight in Montiel, someone who Jaime Munguia blew out in about what 2 rounds, about 5 years ago. I mean, with Andrade, bro, I feel like it really annoys me because when he avoided Johnny Beck, right, he dropped his belt. My thing was this though, I had no problem with it because I said, look, he's moving up to fight Zach Parker. He was an undefeated Olympian, a puncher, a young guy, ranked really high in the WBO at that time, number one, I think. And look, if he beats Zach Parker, he'll become the interim champion, right? And then he'll be in a position where he could fight Canelo or Benavidez and, um, the other guys, right? Pulled out the Zach Parker fight. Uh, so I mean, like, dude, like, what are you doing with your career, bro? Like, you keep criticizing John Ryder, right? John Ryder had the had the balls to actually go there, fight Zach Parker as the underdog. And like people keep talking about money, bro. Like, do you think Zach Parker, like, sorry, John Ryder was paid millions and millions of dollars to go fight on a Frank Warren show, a dude that is notorious for being cheap? Like, come on, bro. Like, John Ryder said, look, the reason why I could, sit pretty on the zone and fight a cab driver on a big Joshua undercard and make good money. But now, bro, I'm going over to BT because it's a big opportunity. If I beat Parker, if I become the interim champion, then I can fight Canelo in a mega fight for all the belts. And that's what you have to do, bro. You got to take
Pay your
chances. You got to take risks, and that's how
and
you
you got to
make your
pay your
legacy.
dues, huh? You got to pay your dues to the sport a little bit. I mean, I know the guy's a veteran, but he's not a
Yeah,
veteran of any big challenges, and
yeah,
he
yeah,
hasn't paid his respects to us, the fans, who, when he talks shit, we expect some results. If you say that, the other guy don't take big challenges, well, show us that you take big challenges, because
yeah.
or else
Look,
you're just, you're talking shit about a guy that's done way more than you. So you're you're
yeah,
you're you're uphill on your fucking argument, bro. You're
and
arguing
he's
about
so
the wrong shit.
retarded though. This guy is so retarded. He's like, why doesn't Canelo fight the winner of Benavidez Plan? Motherfucker, last year he unified with Caleb Plan. Um, and okay, so the thing with Charlo Andrade, at 154, the boogeyman at that time was Erislandy Lara, the top dog, right? A feared fighter. Even Canelo fans were saying, look, he's not going to take that fight. I didn't think he'd fight Erislandy Lara, but you know what? He took the fight because that was a big legacy fight. Triple G, he moved up to middleweight as the underdog, 3-1, and beat the monster in Triple G. Undefeated, top three pound for pound guy. Now, when has Charlo ever done that? When has Andrade ever done that? Right? They never fought Erislandy Lara at 54. They never fought Danny Jacobs at 160. And these dudes so far have not been willing to move up to 68 to fight anyone good. They haven't fought a Callum Smith or a Billy Joe or a Sergei Kovalev, a light heavyweight, or a Bivol or a Triple G. Like, come on, like the list goes on and on. Like, why is it the guy that's done the most is still criticized, and the guys that won't bust the grape are gangsters?
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. That's why,
exactly.
like this year, it's like I think Canelo can do whatever the hell he wants, and I think John Ryder will be one hell of a start. Jimmy, let me ask you something. So, say Canelo rolls up to England. Do you think the
Yeah.
crowd would be more pro Canelo than Ryder, or what would your thoughts be on that?
You know what? In England, I think Canelo actually does have a big fan base. He has fought several British fighters, and all of his fights are shown on the UK. So I think you'll get a lot of Canelo fans. I think a lot of Mexican fans will travel as well. I think you'll get a mixed crowd, but I think you'll get a massive Canelo percentage. They say they will not hold a fight at the Arsenal football stadium, which I think holds 60,000. So I think you're
Wow.
going to see a lot of Canelo fans. I think it's going to be a big event. And I think Canelo will shine, bro. I think he'll knock Ryder out and then go into the Bivol rematch, which is huge as well. And I know Bivol said that he wants it at 68 because he wants the opportunity to win the undisputed titles, like 5 belts. Like, there's a lot for Bivol as well.
I totally agree, man. Like, if Bivol's about the legacy, like he keeps talking about, well, undisputed 168-pound champion, that's
Yeah.
great for your legacy. Okay, so Jimmy, before I kick it to the other fellas, I just want to know. So you obviously watched the first fight. How many rounds did you give Canelo in that first fight?
Uh, See, I thought it was a lot closer than what people had it. I don't know my score had hit me, but I think at that time, I think it was like maybe like I think I had like 7-5, 8-4. It was like that type of fight. Um, yeah, I thought it was a good fight. I thought Bivol won the fight, but I thought Canelo did a lot of good work as well. Um, and you have to keep in mind, Canelo went into that fight with an injury as well. So I think at 68, if Canelo does have a successful surgery, rehab, and at 68, I think we'll get a much better version of Canelo. And I actually predict for him to beat Bivol. I think he'll beat Bivol in the rematch.
All right, man. That was going to be my next question. All right, so you think it's because Canelo will be back to full strength at his ideal weight that he's going to pose some more problems to Bivol and ultimately win that fight, huh?
I think so, because even in Triple G, even though he dominated Triple G, I don't know, man. Like there was something different about Canelo's last couple of performances. I felt like he wasn't really shifting through the gears like he does. You know, against Billy Joe, like he really turned up the heat. He shifted through his
Right.
gears, like turned it up. He went from gear 3 to gear 5 and really put a beating on Billy Joe. Or against Callum Smith, he went to gear 5 and really bullied and beat him down. Um, Against Bivol and Triple G, he looked a little, I don't know, man. He looked a little stale. Maybe that's because he's been very active. You know, is it 7 fights in 20 months or whatever it'll be? I think someone told me it was 6 fights in 20 months, or is it 7 fights in 2 years, or something like that. Like he's been very active, bro. 3 fights in 5 months at one point when he fought Callum Smith, Billy Joe, and Yildirim in between. So I think Canelo's taking some time off, like 8-9 months to rest, recover, have surgery, rehab. I think he'll go into the fight. You know, I think if he goes into the fight 100% healthy, fit, I think Canelo does have a history of improving. You know, if you follow his career, this guy's been improving dramatically throughout his career. He keeps getting better, smarter, sharper. Um, and if he is past his prime, which he might be, bro. I mean, this guy's had, you know, over 60 professional fights, and he is getting injured quite a bit now with the knees and the hands and the shoulders. I think if Canelo comes into the fight 100%, so if it's a Canelo that fought Billy Joe Saunders, I'd pick him to beat Dimitri Bivol on points. Yeah.
Great stuff. And then, just real quick, going back to that Laura fight, if people go back and watch that, like people are trying to say like, oh, Teofimo's footwork isn't that bad. Like I think Canelo's footwork, if you watch, and we're talking about a 25-year-old Canelo, just like Teofimo's 25, Canelo's footwork was way better trying to chase down Laura. People don't know that. Like go back and watch that fight. And it's also occurring to me, Jimmy, that a lot of people these days, they weren't even paying attention to boxing during like the Trout Laura era. You know what I mean? They just weren't. Like they might know about the Mayweather fight, but some people just haven't been watching boxing that long. We're getting older and we had the benefit of watching it. No, Paul, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, bro. Like my thing is this: to Austin Trout, Erislandy Lara, Miguel Cotto, Floyd Mayweather. These were the best guys at 54 at that time. Canelo fought all of them. So when people say, "Oh, he didn't fight this guy," bro, those guys were a non-issue. Andrade, like 10 years ago at 54, like come on, no one knew who he was. Like
right.
It's crazy, bro.
Right. And then at 54, the Charlos were fighting like 8-rounders against 40-year-olds with broken records. But for some reason, Canelo's been ducking them since 54. Figure that one out. No, Paul, what are your thoughts on this, brother? Well, let's kick it to Drew. Drew, okay, so, you could be the balance of reason. We know you're not the biggest Canelo fan, but let's hear what you have to say, brother.
First, so here's the thing. Canelo, Chicano goes all out for Canelo. He even wears Canelo shit. But I don't credit Chicano as a fanboy.
Thank you.
And everything. Like, unlike, a lot, like Jimmy and I were on a panel yesterday and everything. I don't know, Jimmy, I hope you got a panel with you yesterday.
Jimmy, when you were like, oh, Canelo, you said something for almost 2 years. I was going to be like, actually, it's 17 months, but I almost went there and made a little joke on the spat that Drew had yesterday, but I don't even know if he would have caught it, so I didn't go there.
Wait, what panel was this?
On Maestros, where Lady Chan was telling Drew like it wasn't 2 years, it was actually 17 months, or something like that.
Yeah, it was 17 months. Yeah, it was 17 months.
Yeah, but I almost made that joke earlier, but it looks like it would have gone over your head.
You did hear me say almost 2 years, not 2 years.
Well, 17 months.
Close to 2 years.
No, that's closer to 1 year than it is 2, isn't it?
Nah, it's above 15 months. 15 months will be like above the half.
1, 2, 3, 4.
18 months is a year and a half.
Yeah, nah. So it'd be close. It's closer to 2 years. But look at
No, it's not, bro. No. It's not mathematically, right? It's 8 months or 7 months away from 2 years, and it's 5 months away from 1 year. So it's closer to 1 year than it is 2, just mathematically speaking.
But look at it like this. But I'm gonna look at it like this. Last night, I'm not even worried about last night because, tell you the truth,
you got smoked, bro. See, my thing is this: why do you keep bro? You were disrespecting her, right? You were calling her, no wonder you don't have a man, this and that. My thing is this: when she let you talk, you should have just addressed boxing. You kept talking about her being rude, her being, a goddamn bitch.
You can't overtalk. You can't interrupt somebody all the time. That's being rude as shit. When you're trying out there doing debate, you can't interrupt nobody. The object is the debate is let somebody talk, then you go back and talk. You don't interrupt them when they're trying to set their point. That's being rude as hell, and that's disrespectful. You gotta
No,
realize
but to be fair though, you were making a lot of mistakes though, bro. That's why she thought you were biased. You kept using information that wasn't.
how's it being biased saying that Anthony Joshua shouldn't have a tune-up for Dillian White when Dillian White is supposed to be the tune-up. It's an opinion. It's not being biased. I said the same thing about Waddle. I said the same thing about Fury. I didn't like the Chisora fight either. So how that being biased?
No, that's not what I was saying biased about. You're talking about he was coming off a 2-year layoff, this and that, and she was like, no, it's less than 1.5 year.
Like,
And I think you said something else as well.
I'm gonna say something. I wasn't being biased. I was speaking facts. So was Maestro. That's the thing. We're not coming at just AJ. We're coming at just we didn't like the Chisora fight neither. So how's that being
No,
biased? We're going into other
see,
people.
you can't hold Joshua and Fury to the same standard because Anthony Joshua is a contender now, coming off of 2 losses, and doesn't even have a trainer. He's in a very bad situation compared to Fury, who's at an all-time high, knocking everyone out, an undefeated champion. You cannot hold those guys to the same standard, bro.
Here's the thing. They hold them to the same standard now because they're the 2 biggest fighters in the UK. And Joshua is arguably the biggest fighter and the biggest name in the UK. And my people just disrespect Fury sometimes in the UK.
No, but Maestro wasn't being fair though, because when he said Lennox Lewis is his favorite fighter, he forgot to mention that when Lennox Lewis got his first knockout loss, right? This guy, it took him 3 years to fight the guy that knocked him out cold, right? And in between that, he fought about several journeymen, and he looked pretty poor. With Anthony Joshua, he jumped in with Ruiz straight away 6 months later, and outboxed him. But you were criticizing the performance, right? He ran. So it's
Yeah,
okay for Tyson Fury to run against Klitschko, right? But it's not okay for that doesn't make any sense, bro. You're giving Fury credit for running against Klitschko. And then, so this is why she pointed out you were being a hypocrite. You were giving Tyson Fury credit when he ran against Klitschko, right? But you were hating on Joshua when he ran against Ruiz. But you were okay with Lennox Lewis waiting 3 years. No, I'm almost done, bro. I'm landing the plane, bro. Let me land the plane. So when Lennox Lewis waited 3 years to avenge his loss, Maestro didn't have a problem. Lennox Lewis can look like garbage against bombs for 3 years and then avenge his loss. But when Joshua soundly outboxes Ruiz, looks a little shaky, but he soundly outboxes him in his next fight. That's a problem. But when Fury runs against Klitschko, it's the most incredible thing the heavyweight division has seen in 12 years. When Lennox Lewis waits 3 years to avenge his loss against a guy that's much lower, right? Ovla McCall was not at the level of Andy Ruiz, who should have been an undefeated champion by some accounts. A lot of people thought he beat Joseph Parker, so he should have been 33-0 and a world champion, right? And he might beat Deontay Wilder. So, like, come on, man. I just feel like people are being too harsh on Joshua. Like, they're not being fair, right?
Now, Jimmy, you see what I just did? I let you talk, and she didn't do that yesterday. And now I let you talk, so I gave you respect to say your opinion. That's what the main issue I had with her yesterday. That's why I called her rude, and that is the right way to do it. Is to call her rude. Yo, I gave you your space.
But bro, you started saying no wonder you don't have a man, and come on, like you talking about.
Well, she did call him a lame. She called him a lame first, based on what I remember. She called him a lame. Yep, I don't need respect from a lame. You're a lame. You need to come correct. Like, I don't know. I thought she was. Well, I don't know. I'm not used to like the free smoke kind of stuff, but I mean, she came pretty aggressive at Drew. Like, she's like, "Oh, I wasn't listening. Oh, but I was listening. Here's my beef." Like that was just my perspective.
Jimmy let me have it. You're like, Jimmy, why are you going easy on them? I'm like, it's not free smoke. Everyone's being respectful, right? Why am I gonna?
And she did take issue with Maestro too at the end. To be fair, it wasn't like she had her crosshairs on. Maybe I don't know, Drew. Like, you guys have an interesting relationship.
I never even. This is like the second time I was on a panel with her. I thought she was rude the first time.
Well, yeah, I remember that time. Was it on the round table?
A lot of people say she was rude as hell. But here's the thing, to your point. There's a difference between running and boxing. Tyson Fury was a circling Vladimir Klitschko when they fought. Anthony Joshua was backing up, using the whole wing, like backing up, running around, like they're doing that thing to get away from Ruiz and everything. That's the difference. Like Sandra Martin against Teofimo. She said that he ran from Teofimo. No, he didn't. He did a circle around Teofimo and looked for angles. That is boxing. That's
okay. I disagree. If one of the two, if we're talking about like Joshua in the rematch or Sandor Martin, if one of the two were running, I would say it was Sandor Martin that was running. I feel like what Joshua was doing was more like sticking and moving, and then clinching every once in a while.
He didn't want to engage with Ruiz at times, man.
Well,
Yeah, but bro,
sure. I
how
mean,
could
because
you
he got
run if you
knocked
land more
out. Well,
power
knocked down.
punches?
Right. I
Yeah,
mean, it
but,
was a
okay.
smart game plan.
Joshua landed, I think Joshua landed more, what was it, 2-1 as far as power punches. He landed nearly twice the power punches or 3 times more power punches than Andy Ruiz. And as far as running, bro, he was fighting behind the jab on his bike, which is pretty much what Tyson Fury did. So is this what we're going to do? We're going to sit down and debate the style of running. Either you move and fight defensive, right? Which Fury did, bro. That was a lot of running, holding, leaning, throwing about 3 punches around.
Ugly fight.
Yeah, it was one of the worst title fights I've ever seen in my life, right?
And I think it was
Compared
closer
to
than what people say, to be honest. Everybody was acting like it was a wash. I didn't see that fight as a wash, but that's just me.
no, it wasn't a wash. I mean, you don't throw 3 punches around and it becomes a wash. Like, come on.
Right.
Had an 8-4 for Fury that fight. But I tell you the truth, he didn't want the whole ring around him. He ran a circle around him, and it's distance to be able to land punches on him, look for angles on Klitschko. Even though he held a lot, it was a boring fight and everything. Problem was, Klitschko couldn't get his jab off. Klitschko could not get his jab off to go with his hook that he's normally is known for with fighters. And if you look at it, Klitschko and later on in his career had problem with the bigger fighters and everything. Now in the Joshua fight, tell you the truth, they could say, oh, he only had like 15 fights when he fought Klitschko and everything. But you look at it, he kind of exposed Joshua's flaws a little bit in that fight.
No, Vladimir Klitschko, when Tyson Fury retired, right? Vladimir Klitschko by default was the #1 heavyweight in the sport, right? He was one fight removed from being a long-reigning, unified world champion. He was a future Hall of Famer. He was still one of the most destructive punchers in the sport. And a lot of people had that 50-50. It was a young guy versus the old lion, right? And the reason why Joshua struggled more than Fury did is because they used completely two different tactics. Anthony Joshua fought Vladimir Klitschko as a pressure fighter. Tyson Fury fought Vladimir Klitschko as I don't want to say runner, but more like a mover, right? And bro, at the same stages of their career, Anthony was getting dropped by Vladimir. Tyson Fury was getting bounced off the ring by Steve Cunningham. If you want to compare equal movement, right, as far as equal momentum, right? When Anthony Joshua was in the same stage of his career, when Tyson Fury was getting rocked by cab drivers, was getting dropped by Steve Cunningham, I'm a huge Tyson Fury fan. My thing is this, though, bro. I'm fair. I'm fair to everyone. I'm not going to give Tyson Fury credit for getting bounced off the floor by Steve Cunningham, for getting very controversial fights against John McDermott early on in his career, and then hate on Anthony Joshua because he beat Vladimir Klitschko in the slugfest. Deontay Wilder was 30 fights deep, and Shelly Finkel was running around crying that Wilder's a baby, and we refused to fight Klitschko. And the reason why they refused to fight Klitschko is because they actually had to send Deontay Wilder home from the Klitschko camp because Vladimir Klitschko kept knocking Wilder out cold. And I'm talking about snoring.
What?
Yeah. Johnny Nelson was there. Andy Lee was there. There are multiple people that would say that Vladimir Klitschko actually put Deontay Wilder to sleep multiple times, right? To the point where they had to send Wilder home because they didn't want to, I guess, make him a vegetable or whatever. Shelly Finkel's gone on record and said, we are not making the Klitschko fight. No one's going to bully us into fighting Vladimir Klitschko. And the fucker was 30 fights deep. 30 fights deep compared to Joshua, 15 fights. Fury, 25 fights. I don't know, bro. I just feel like there's a lot of double standards.
I look at it like this. When he fought Steve Cunningham and he got knocked down, I actually criticized it and said, yo, his defense got to be better. Again, especially against a cruiserweight like Steve Cunningham, he gets knocked down. It's like, all right, he got up and knocked him and stopped him and everything, but you got to be better because that's cruiserweight.
Hey, bros, my question is this. Since you guys were talking about Klitschko, how did he go from being criticized just before the fight by Tyson Fury for being a jab and grabbing type of fighter, which we can all vouch for that. He had a very boring style, right?
Yeah,
that fucking fight versus Povetkin was atrocious.
Oh,
they should have fucking robbed his ass just for fighting that fucking messed up. You know what I mean? I think that was a fucked up way to just fight Povetkin. Of course, probably because Povetkin could have knocked his ass out. Maybe he did what he had to do. But what I'm saying is, what's his name was criticizing him for fighting that way. But all of a sudden, next 2 fights, he doesn't fight that way at all. He goes toe to toe and all that shit, right? Versus he tries to go toe to toe with Tyson Fury. Of course, he loses. That wasn't really a good win. I don't think it was that much of a good win. I think that the fans were just happy to get Klitschko out of the way, and you know, let Tyson. They were comfortable with Tyson Fury winning that. They don't care if it was by an inch or by a mile. And then the next fight versus Joshua, he fights the same way. You know, is it just because it's harder for him to fucking clinch the bigger guys, or what was that? You know, because he could have made it easier on himself by just continue his usual style, right?
It's like this. To me, like the reason why I really called the Fury win over Klitschko a big signature win, because he made Klitschko look bad.
Not really, bro.
He made Klitschko look that way.
It looked like posing, bro. Like it's like when you go in there and it's confidence, bro. The fight could be 50-50, but just your attitude saying, yeah, I beat that fool's ass. I mean, it's going to make certain people that are not paying attention, it's going to make them think that, yeah, they're comfortable with saying, yes, you won that way. But I thought it was kind of close, bro, to be honest.
Hey,
I
and
didn't
speaking
think it
of
was
close,
that clear.
Speaking of close to our loyal audience and for Jimmy too, and I heard this reference at Maestro's, like for our controversial rescore segment, we did go back and take a look at Fury versus McDermott. We classified that one as not a robbery. So controversial, I would respectfully, and I like your opinion, Jimmy, I would respectfully disagree with that one, but that's just me.
Yeah. But would you say having a tough fight against Klitschko is a better look than having a tough fight against John McDermott?
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, well, Fury was what was he, like 21? He was very young. What was that for the English title? Like, was that his biggest fight to date at the time?
Yeah. Look, I'm a huge Tyson Fury fan, and I agree with you. I don't think that was this massive controversy that fans blew out to be, but I'm saying, like, when Joshua did struggle against Klitschko at that stage of his career, guys like Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder at that same stage were not willing to against one of the biggest punchers the heavyweight division has seen for 30 plus years, one of the best technical boxers in the sport. This guy wasn't an Olympic champion. He was a proven high-level unified champion. And I think Joshua, he got hurt, but he showed a lot of heart and dog in that fight. You know, he got off the floor, he bombed Klitschko out, and I think he helped to bring life into the division, because no one cared about Wilder before Joshua stepped into the picture. Tyson Fury disappeared for about 4 years. It was Anthony Joshua, I think, that really brought the division to life.
And that's where I agree with Jimmy, man. While, I mean, in the position that Anthony Joshua has always been in, Drew, bro, he could have just been like Wilder and kept fighting bums for forever, bro, and blame it on Eddie Hearn. He had multiple excuses that he could lay on to not fight all these dangerous ass guys that he, you know, willing to fight all the time. You know, I mean, he showed us multiple times that he's willing to take a challenge, bro. And in reality, he's had to learn on the job. He didn't have this massive amateur career, so I mean, for that, I got to give him massive credit, because a lot of these guys in boxing, they just like fighting bums, bro, and they like to talk shit. And Joshua's been the opposite of that, you know.
Hey, that's a great point. And, you know, Nopal and I were talking off air right before we started, and we were talking about how Anthony Joshua is very, very good for the sport. Like, he takes on a lot of challenges. He's got crossover appeal. He's a star. The sport is better for having him, and that's a fact.
Yep.
Drew, you got any final thoughts, man, before we wrap it up, bro?
Yeah, it's like this. Like, you could say that the resume and everything, but we allowed as fight fans to critique on fights and everything. And like we're doing right now, we're debating and everything. This is an actual debate, because we're allowing to talk to one another. But when you constantly keep interrupting somebody during debate, to me, that's not a debate. It's just flat out disrespectful, and it's fanboyish. That's to a lot of people. Like, Jimmy, you giving me a chance to talk, I gave you a chance to talk. That's debate. Yeah. Respect for debate. But like what I said yesterday, hey, he looked a little bad when he fought Pulev before he stopped him. That is an observation. Like I said he looked bad against a one-handed fighter at a time until he knocked him out. He looked bad against Povetkin a little bit until he knocked him out. And then
I disagree. See, with the Povetkin thing, I disagree though, because I think Povetkin is a tremendously skilled fighter, Olympic champion, former world champion. He had one of the best resumes of his era. But the guy could punch. I think Joshua, I don't think he looked bad. I think he just struggled. And this wasn't like, you have to understand, Luis Ortiz is like a poor man's Povetkin. This guy, he wasn't even allowed on the Olympic Cuban team, right? If he was that good, he would have been the Olympian on the Cuban team. They kicked him out because Orlando Solis, he was a top guy from Cuba.
Yeah.
And as a professional, he's pretty much done nothing. So I feel like Povetkin, I don't think he struggled. I think Povetkin went on to obviously have a war with Michael Hunter to knock Dylan White out cold. His only loss heading into the Joshua fight was against Klitschko, which was very controversial, right? That was more like a WWE wrestling match. Joshua was the only guy to ever actually knock Povetkin out. And Povetkin was known for two things: a chin, firepower, and elite level Olympic skills. I think it was a battle between two champions, Olympic champions, right? Povetkin was Olympic gold medalist, so was Joshua. Povetkin was a guy that was more experienced than Joshua and probably had about as much punching power. And his skill was very. He's a short guy, he makes it really tough to hit him clean. So I disagree with you. I don't think he looked bad. I think he just struggled against a guy that is a dangerous fighter. Alexander Povetkin in his prime, even at the version I fought Joshua, I think was a really good technical boxer and a devastating power puncher.
And I don't know if you guys remember, there was at one point when Deontay Wilder was supposed to go to Moscow and defend his WBC title against Povetkin, but the night of the fight, Povetkin tested positive for a banned, and they fought against a nobody, and Wilder just left Russia. Now, I was getting ready to put money on Povetkin to beat Wilder, to knock out Wilder, because I said to people, Povetkin's going to knock out Deontay Wilder because Deontay Wilder's not ready, and everything. And that's like I said that when the fight was first made. Wilder's not ready for Povetkin.
But real quick, because I do want to close out. But Jimmy, I'd love to know your opinion, man, because I don't think I heard your particular opinion on this. And the panel, we didn't really discuss it too much. But when Fury and Joshua were trying to get it on with negotiations, and it fell apart for one reason or the other, what's your take on what happened and why that fight didn't happen?
This time, or originally when they were supposed to fight?
The one where Fury was looking for an opponent,
Look, I think for me, I'm not sure though. I think Joshua was obviously coming off of 2 losses, but according to Joshua, he agreed to everything Tyson Fury wanted. I think it is strange that you'd give Derek Chisora 3 months to negotiate, but Anthony Joshua has to sign the contract in 4 days. Now, that is a little weird for me, but I think it was just a situation where you had me personally, but that's like a mega fight, right? I don't know if they could make that in less than 10 days, right? Because we've got Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, a fight that is probably not even half as big as Fury Wilder, right? Sorry, Fury Joshua. And we've been negotiating for damn near half a decade, bro. And these guys can't get it in the ring. So I just don't think, I think logistically, I don't think that fight could have happened in September. I think that's a fight that would have to happen at Wembley Stadium or in the Middle East somewhere like Dubai or Saudi. And I just don't think there was enough time. I think maybe both guys probably used each other's names a little bit. Whose fault was it? I'm not sure, to be honest. I think Tyson Fury definitely did some questionable things, like giving Derek Chisora 3 months to negotiate, but only giving Joshua, 10 days?
Yeah.
And that was weird. But then again, I think Tyson Fury probably.
And you know what, too, Jimmy? I think that.
Yeah.
Like, the way I look at it, let's just be honest, bro. That was a fucking cherry pick at that point for Fury, bro. So for us to expect Joshua, which is with as much fame as he has and, fans and all that, for him to just take that fucking fight at that point in his career when he's just coming off a loss, bro. Come on, man. I think that was a cherry pick for Tyson Fury. So I wouldn't even expect the guy to take that fight, bro, coming off a loss like that. Because for sure, for me, he's going to lose that fight. And not only that, you're going to lose your momentum. You're going to slow down your career. You're going to lose years off your life, probably. I didn't expect him to take that. And, with the other stuff that you said, yeah, I mean, you don't just give the guy a week to negotiate. you know, you don't call the shots that much with the guy where, you know, I think that they both agreed to like a 50-50 split or something, huh? Which I
No,
think that was
60,
okay.
60
60-40,
40.
Joshua? Oh, man, I
No,
would have said,
60-40 for Fury.
oh, see? Come on, bro. You should have gave the dude at least 50%. If you want him to, you know, if you want the fight that bad and it's even a cherry pick, why not give the guy 50-50? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
I
think
don't know.
they would just they
Multiple.
needed more time because Joshua has an exclusive contract with the Zone and Fury has exclusive contract with BT. So they just want
Exactly.
more time to
Yo,
work
you
out
got
all the
I think they both
logistics.
use each other, to be honest, just like you said.
Yes, Drew.
Jimmy's gonna be shocked here because it's gonna show that I'm not being biased and everything, but I'm actually agree with him on this. But the thing about it, but the one thing I will say is Fury didn't really want this fight right now. He
Mm.
wanted to use like Jimmy said, use his name and everything for negotiations because the fight of this magnitude will have to take a while to negotiate and because yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think the 55-45 split would probably be a better split because Josh was coming off 2 losses straight and he's not a champion, and Fury is a champion. So that would be a fair split. But I think the fight should take place in the UK, not Dubai anything, because it's a mega fight in the UK.
Yeah,
But to be
And
honest,
you know what? Let's ask this, Drew. Who has made more money in their career so far, Joshua or Fury?
it's a Joshua.
See?
Really?
So
That's
it's like
interesting.
he
I guess
has
I haven't kept track, but I feel like Fury's been cleaning up lately with these big old purses,
he
man.
probably has, but the other guy's
my
making
business is
constant money on every fight. You know what I'm saying? Like the other guy's making massive person on even fighting nobodies. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna be honest. I think they're more even because of Fury's outside things too with WWE and everything, along
Yeah.
with and everything. You gotta put that in perspective. I would say even.
Even maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
I just simply don't know, but I know Joshua's
Possibility.
been making good money for a long time now.
I think Eddie
Yeah.
Hearn was saying Joshua made more money in the Ruiz rematch than Fury and Wilder combined when they fought each other.
Well, that's the
God
Saudi money, you
damn.
know what I mean? That's like
Woo.
that's different, you know? Shit.
Like I
Crazy.
look at it like this. Like I criticize a lot of things about Deontay Wilder on the opponents that he's fought and everything. But like I also like when it came to like the Charles Martin fight with AJ, I'll be honest with you, I had to criticize it because Charles Martin won a title off a dude that was injured in the second round, and that's how he won it. I didn't think he was going to win that fight. I think Charles Martin's not really that good of a fighter and everything.
No, I think I put Charles Martin on the same level as a Bermain Stavern, I guess, at worst. You can't put Bermain Stavern ahead of him because
I
Bermain
think
Stavern
he's
is
Martin.
pushing 40. Like Bermain Stavern is a guy that's pushing 40, as fat as a whale, and has been knocked out by a cab driver heading a couple of years ago, heading into the Wilder fight. At least Charles Martin was an undefeated southpaw. He could punch, a young guy, had the belt. I'm not saying it was a great win, but it was decent. It was like when.
Let's just say
But no one highlights Charles Martin as Joshua's signature wins, right? They talk about Klitschko, Povetkin, undefeated Dylan White, undefeated Parker, Andy Ruiz, the rematch. Like when people keep bringing up Charles Martin, I'm like, yeah, but bro, that's not his signature win. And Charles Martin is probably better than 90% of the dudes that Wilder's fought. So,
Well, I'll be honest. I don't about the. I'm sorry. I can't call for like a tune-up for Dillian White. I think Dillian White is the tune-up because I think Dillian White is in gatekeeper status. I don't think Dillian. I think Dillian White.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Look, this is the problem, right? Anthony Joshua versus Dylan White is a stadium fight, right? They can't do a stadium fight in the UK that early in the year because of the weather, right? When it's an open air stadium, because of the weather, because of the soccer seasons, it becomes very difficult to stage an open air stadium fight in March. So in March, they're probably going to have a fight in the O2 Arena, which is a good arena, right? Sell that out against, probably a lesser level opponent. Joshua, again, is coming off 2 losses. Bro, this guy hasn't won a fight in nearly 3 years, bro. And he's getting a new trainer. So I feel like I don't know, man. Like, I feel like fans maybe they should cut him a little slack. After his tune up, then I agree, bro. He needs to go out there and fight a legitimate top 10 guy, which Dylan White is. I think the tune up is Is so? Would you rather have him sit out until I don't know, June? Because that's what they do. He'd sit out until June until he can fight Dylan White, which they'd put in the. So he wants to fight 3 times, right? So come back early, extra early, against the lesser opponent, and then the Dylan White fight. I think they'll try and build that up and put that in the stadium or something. For me, I think that's the reason why. And at the end of the year, they're probably gonna have like a big fight against either Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury, depending on what how things play out. I think that's a good year. Fight a tune-up, then fight Dylan White, and then fight Wilder or Fury. I mean, it's not the worst year for a guy coming off of back-to-back defeats. Yeah, he doesn't even have a trainer right now, and is probably mentally not in the best place after the emotional breakdown and the crying and all that shit.
Yeah, I think Drew suffers from Canelo syndrome, and he just expects everybody to go out there and be like Canelo. You know what I
You've
mean?
been spoiled, Drew. Nando here wants to know, Drew, when's Boots going to grow some balls and fight somebody? Dude, same age as Munguia with a much worse resume. Damn. Hey, you know what, Nando? Drew Evo's had a rough 24 hours, man. Why don't you cut on some slack, bro?
Oh my God, Drew, you can't be coming on here talking about Joshua don't need a tune-up, and you're okay with Boots fighting fucking motherfucking Karen, bro.
No,
Come on, you can't be doing this shit now.
criticize it too. I criticize it, but here's the thing: you also got to blame. He's on Showtime. He's not signed with Al Heyman.
Oh, here we go. Here we go, bro. The excuses, bro. All right.
Not the excuses,
Okay.
man. He's been trying to fight these guys, and Al Heyman won't
No,
give
he
him
hasn't.
because he's not signed.
No.
with
I'll tell you what. Look, but when look, he was given an opportunity, right, to put in a petition to become Terence Crawford's mandatory, right? When Virgil Ortiz signed to fight Stanionis, the WBO pathway opened up, right? Boots was number 2. He could have put in a petition to fight Terence Crawford, and Crawford has to fight his mandatory in May. Instead of coming on Instagram and talking about how much of a killer and a gangster he is, and how Crawford's ducking him and how no one wants to smoke, they could have put some paperwork in, bro. I fought Terence Crawford in May. He didn't want that. He wanted Karen. And it is what it is, bro.
But you forgot you forgot to tell everybody they put a petition in to fight Errol Spence to become his mandatory because he's number 1 in the IBF. Forgot to mention that too.
Not really. I mean, he's not promised the IBF fight, though, is he? I mean, Errol Spence is a guy that said that if I don't get the Crawford fight, which I don't think will happen, I'm going to drop the belts and move up to 54. So I think Bozy, Ennis, and Boots, they know they're running a nice little hustle. They got a Showtime deal. They can bomb bash. They might pick up a vacant IBF belt. They got a nice little hustle going,
That's the only way it's going to happen. If he's going to fight for a vacated belt, I said that. I've been saying that. The only way Boots
But
going to
then why not fight Terence Crawford? Well, there's my point. Why not fight Terence Crawford for the IBF? Because Crawford said that I will fight my mandatory next. I have to. I have to fight my mandatory in May.
his mandatory
So why
is Virgil Ortiz in WBO.
No. Virgil Ortiz is fighting Stanionis for.
Yeah, but his mandatory for the WBO is the number one ranked fighter in the WBOs is Virgil Ortiz. And
No. When Virgil Ortiz signed to fight Stanionis for the WBA regular belt, he was no longer number 1 in the WBO. It opened up to Boots. Boots was the next guy that could have become number 1, but Boots didn't put in the petition, bro. Jaron Ennis had an opportunity to become Terence Crawford's mandatory. This is publicly documented. The WBO rankings are right there. You can put in the petition. The logistics are what they are. He chose to go the IBF route to fight a guy that's probably going to drop the belt.
yeah,
So why not fight Crawford for the WBO belt? If everyone is ducking you and you're this monster with 30 fights and nothing but Karens, I don't know, bro. I smell pussy, bro.
I'm the one that said that he went for the IBF route too. So I said that also. But here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you this right now.
Oh, is he trying to fight Charles Martin? All right, he's trying to fight Charles Martin. Okay, I got you.
Here's the thing. Anthony Joshua was used to taking the biggest challenges. Now, all the Southern, I think I didn't like all the Southern. They're gonna talk about finding a top 15 opponent. My thing.
Oh, but he's coming off 2 losses, though. Come on, bro. He's coming off 2 losses. He doesn't want to fight in 3 years.
Canelo lost the Triple G. No, he didn't lose Triple G. He lost the Bevo, and he wanted to pick that Triple G fight up right afterwards.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
no, Canelo's a better fighter. Listen, Canelo's a better fighter than Anthony Joshua. He's got a better legacy, and he's in a better position, though, because Canelo Alvarez did not lose 2 fights in a row. Canelo Alvarez is a guy that's had an incredible amount of momentum, undisputed at 68. And then obviously he signed a 2-fight deal, right? Bivol in May, Golovkin in September. I think they're two completely different situations, bro. I think Anthony Joshua is a guy that's lost 2 fights in a row. He doesn't have a trainer, and I don't think he's in a position that Canelo is. Canelo again isn't like the two different situations. And for me personally, I think Canelo's a better fighter than Joshua. He's got a better legacy, and yeah. So I don't see how you could compare this two.
Hey,
Well,
I'm looking at it like this. If he needs to fight someone like a Zhang right now in this first fight to keep me interested, he's got to fight somebody like Zhang, because I think Zhang can cause a little bit of issues for Joshua and everything. But because I really thought that he got robbed against Rogative, I thought he got robbed. And
yeah, I think that fight will definitely happen because Eddie Hearn and DAZN want to enter the Chinese market. So I think that's a fight they're going to try and make in China in their Olympic stadium. So DAZN wants to break into that. I mean, you got 1.5 billion people in China, right? So that's a lot of subscribers. So
right, and AJ has time, you know what I mean, and he's used to fighting in different areas, and he's extremely marketable, like we said. So I don't hold it against him if he's going to take one soft touch, like you said, after 2 losses. Even though I don't think the losses were that bad,
yeah, especially
I don't
the last
mind
fight. Yeah, especially the last fight. He looked quite good. He looked a lot improved.
I thought so. I thought the fight was close, or I think Joshua definitely won rounds. It's just that Usyk was the better man. That's all. And I think Joshua gassed a little.
I looked at it like this. Like I put an observation out, and people got their panties in a bunch, I guess, and got mad when I said that Joshua didn't adjust midway through the fight. Usyk did, and that's why he won the fight. Like he really did. He adjusted midway through the fight, Usyk. And see
I think Joshua made adjustments, but Usyk made more adjustments. I think Joshua did adjust. That's why he hurt Usyk in the 9th round. That's why he was landing more body shots, more left hooks, more straight right hands. I think even though Usyk won the fight, Joshua did probably 3 times better than what he did in the first fight, right? The first fight he just got outboxed completely. In the second fight he hurt Usyk. He won multiple rounds. Better inside fighting, more pressure. I think tactically, he did way better. And I think Joshua's still young. He's only 31, 32. This guy's potentially got another 7, 8 years in the sport. So if he wants a tune-up, I mean, I don't know, bro. I think the fans are overreacting.
He did better in the second fight against Usyk, but I still had it 9-3, 8-4 at best for him, because it's just the adjustments. Like AJ, I look at it like, and I said this as an opinion, he's 1 loss away from becoming a gatekeeper.
Maybe you are a Joshua hater, Drew. I'm hearing this stuff, maybe.
Okay, so Drew, shouldn't he take a tune-up?
That's
you just said
Drew.
He's 1 loss away from a gate. So Drew, you just said he's 1 loss away from being a gatekeeper. So can you blame his team and Eddie Hearn if they want to take a tune-up? Because you just said he's 1 loss away from a gatekeeper.
Yeah, and that's their opinion. I'm allowed to say that. It doesn't mean that he needs to take a tune-up. The tune-up is Dillian White. The tune-up's Dillian White, in my opinion, because he's a gatekeeper, Dillian White.
All right.
You're not listening to what Jimmy's saying, Drew. He's saying that, because of that fact that maybe he is one loss away from being a gatekeeper. Do you expect him to risk what he has to make you happy? Come on,
Here's the thing.
Let the dude get a tune-up.
Dillian White, if he loses a Dillian White, which I know he's not going to lose a Dillian White.
True. We all agree.
If he loses to Dillian White, this will be a way more devastating loss than the Usyk 2 losses to Usyk.
Joshua's not going to lose his next fight, though. That's the thing. He's going to
I'm going to pick whoever he fights. If it's whoever he fights, I probably am going to pick Joshua to win the fight.
Okay, so why don't you like Joshua? What does this come down to, Drew? Real quick, I just would like to know.
He's a Deontay Wilder fan, bro. That's why.
I don't. Go ahead, Drew.
Well, he said him say
that you're a Wilder fan.
I'm far from a Wilder fan, buddy. You need to watch yourself, because
he's more of a Fury fan and Usyk fan, but he's got Usyk number 1, even though he's in the same division.
I got Usyk as number 1 pound for pound.
Number 1 pound for pound.
Let's look at it like that. But if you look at it like this, Joshua loses the White now. It's a way more devastating loss than the Ruiz loss, than the 2 Usyk losses. Right. It really is, because Dillian White is out there for the taking, is out there to end him once and for all. And
Well, we know that's not going to happen. You know, that's my opinion anyway.
I
That
know
would
it's
not
not
be where.
gonna
Yeah,
happen. He
I'd
shouldn't
put some
lose to
serious
Dillian
money
Whyte.
on Joshua if the fight was
He
like the odds were even
lose to Dillian
close.
Whyte,
I'd be
yeah.
throwing some money on Joshua.
I didn't
Although
even.
you know what, historically though, the one apiece though, that's how they're selling the fight. So Dylan White beat Joshua quite badly from what I heard in the amateurs, and then Joshua blasted out Dylan White. So yeah, but I agree with you, bro. If Anthony Joshua loses to Dylan White, then that means he's effectively finished at top level, right? He's done as a fighter, in my opinion.
But
Yeah.
like, I picked AJ against Dillian White the first time to win the. So like, I didn't see. The thing about it is, Dillian White to me is outside the top. Is just outside the top 10 in heavyweight. Now, I just don't see him as a top 10 heavyweight anymore.
And yo, no, not for nothing. This has just been crossing my mind. Like, just because you're top 10 in the heavyweight division, like those guys are always there fighting. They don't ever move up or down, right? So my thing is like sometimes I feel like, you know, just because you're top 10 doesn't necessarily mean that like you're good. You could be washed and still be in the top 10 at the heavyweight division, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think Dylan White is still top 10. I mean, I think he'd have to be because if guys like Luis Ortiz, Deontay Wilder hasn't won a fight. Well, he just won a fight, but before the Hernandez fight, this is a guy that been knocked out badly twice. Hadn't won a fight in 3 years, and most people think he lost all 3 Fury fights. So
I
if
thought he
he's still
lost.
in the top 10, then
Like,
why can't Dylan White be?
I look at it like this. I thought he lost all Fury fights also against Fury. I thought he lost all 3, but like it, like Wilder, like his signature win, if you want to look at it, and I always said it was against Savon. That's his signature win.
Yeah.
And like, and Savon's signature win is Chris Arreola. If you want to look at it like that, but like all these guys, like what I'm saying to now, people, the heavyweight division is stacked in my opinion. But like, I think some guys are not ready for that next level. Like Daniel Dubois, I think Anthony Joshua smokes Daniel Dubois. I think Dillian White beats Daniel Dubois.
I don't know about that. After Dylan White was Daniel Dubois.
I've only seen 2 of Dubois' fights, and one of them was when he got he got put down by Joyce, right? So it's like hard for me to say in particular.
I just don't have a lot of confidence in Daniel Dubois and everything.
Oh, I think Joshua would blast them out. Yeah. I think Anthony Joshua would destroy Dubois.
You talking about?
Yeah.
Dillian White?
No, Anthony Joshua, I think, would destroy Daniel Dubois.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I think Dillian White beats Daniel Dubois, too. I just don't have confidence in Daniel Dubois because Daniel Dubois, he's going to get hit with that big shot. And that big shot's going to probably hurt him like it did in that fight. That team should have never told that dude to be cautious, stay on him and end that fight because he's vulnerable. And everything. And they just told him to be cautious. Don't move into it. But like I look at it like this, like Trevor Bryan is Daniel Dubois' signature win. And he is a guy that got a belt, like a secondary belt that was fighting a bunch of nobodies until he got exposed against Daniel Dubois. Like, but like I look at it like this.
If I put Trevor Bryan the same level as Bermane Stiverne, I mean, 2 nobodies at the belt. And Wilder was this legendary monster that no one could tame until he finally stepped up against Fury. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I could say that. You could say that he's on the same level as Trevor Bryan, but I think Savon beats Trevor Bryan.
Okay, well, when we're talking about Savon versus Trevor Bryan, it's about time for us to wrap it up. You know what I'm saying? No offense. Well, we've been going for a little over 2 hours, but it was great, man. I always love hearing Jimmy around the panels. You know what I mean? One of my favorite guys from the UK with his opinions. Drew Evo from the Shoe Shine, man. Great to have you here and get your opinions. I'll tell Lady Chen that you're looking for her. All right. And the homie Nopo Boxanos. We are out, you guys. Everybody have a great week. Peace.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Cheers.
Yep.